This weekend, we're at sunny Valencia for the final races in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. Titles to be decided. Silver has already been resolved in favour of Ulysse de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, but the overall battle is still very much up for grabs, and the teams are set for two dramatic 60-minute races. Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor come here as the championship leaders, and they are looking for 3 sprint titles back-to-back, but they're going to be under tough opposition from Acodis ASP and its lead Mercedes.
We've had to work quite a bit for it. I mean, it's obviously also the new car since this year, so we had to figure out a bit how to work with it and how to get it fast. And the Mercedes have been very strong all season. It's been not easy to beat them, but we did a few times, and I think we are where we are. I think we deserve a bit to have these points. We had to work for it, so hopefully we can end it well.
We already have 2 championships in a row, so let's try to make it 3. We know Valencia is a good track for the Mercedes, and not so much for the Audi, but we also know we have an evolution from last year. So yeah, let's see how it goes, but I believe if we can just be consistent and just score good points and just do our best, we should be in the mix. So yeah, let's see how it goes, but the goal is definitely to be champion, yeah.
3 race wins have gone the way of Timo Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello this season. Traditionally, they tend to come out on top of race 2, for which Raffaele qualifies. Key to their chances this weekend is going to be the pace of Timo Boguslavski in the qualifying session and how close to the opposition he can stay in the opening stint of the opening race. For Raffaele Marciello then, this is an important weekend.
Yeah, let's say, they're quite strong Audi. They show today like really good speed. It's a good track for them, I think. So it will not be easy, because even if we win both races and they will do second both races, they still will be champion in sprint. But I mean, there is also overall for me. So I will try to speak with Dries and say, you win sprint and you give me overall and endurance. Maybe it can be a good deal.
Early July, Misano Silver Cup wrapped up in favour of Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw. That means they come here with no pressure and are looking for a second outright win of the season. The Ferrari has been the class act within the Silver Cup this year, and the 2 young drivers, one French, one Belgian, have been amongst the standouts of what's been an ultra-competitive Sprint Cup.
We have nice cars with us, the sun, nice track. We're having fun in the car, so yeah, we always try to have fun, and I think is the most important. When you take pleasure in the car, the good times always follow. So I think this is part of the secret. Also, we won the silver championship, so this take out a bit of pressure. We still play something on the overall standing, so we have to be focused and do a good job this weekend. But yeah, with the silver title, a small pressure went out going in this weekend.
You don't have a lot of time to rest. As we saw today in the free practice, the lap times are pretty close, so it's going to be close tomorrow in qualifying, and it's going to be very important to start in the front. We can still hope for the 3rd place of the championship, so let's hope for a good weekend, some overall podium, a good qualifying tomorrow morning, and let's hope for a good end to the championship.
Louis Machiels and Andrea Bertolini are chasing hard in Pro-Am. They are 20.5 points behind Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald, but it's another AF Corsa Ferrari team, and success and titles have been accumulated easily over the years by Louis Machiels and Andrea Bertolini. This could be another.
Still the possibility, but you know, with Louis always we fight until the end, and yeah, it will be a special weekend one more time, and like you know, we can fight for all the championship. We're still on the battle, so it will be really tough, like all the competition and every racing weekend.
Ferrari is quite strong, but if you have seen the past season, the McLaren is very strong. Maybe too strong, but no. We are very competitive, so well, we will fight till the end, as Andrea told. He is the Italian one, I'm the Belgian one. We are proud of the country, proud of the car, and we will go till the end.
And this is the crew that they are chasing. It is the Garage 59 round McLaren, the drivers of which are Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald, and they have enjoyed a really impressive season. Miguel Ramos, hugely experienced, and Dean McDonald has been another standout this season.
We are leading. Let's hope that this weekend goes well. But still, it can happen anything. So it's depending on how it goes. The first start of the race, if there is any confusion. But we are here to win, so let's hope for the best.
I think the race will be difficult for passing, so I think qualifying's key. I think we go into the same here with the same approach as we have done the previous rounds, and yeah, whatever happens, happens, and we'll give it our all.
Now let's just remind ourselves how Sprint Cup within Fanatec GT works. 2 one-hour races, 2 drivers per car, and that means that there is a mandatory pit stop between 25 and 35 minutes of the race. You have to change all 4 wheels and tyres, and if you're in the overall category, there is no minimum pit stop time. There is in Pro-Am, 61 seconds. Once those driver changes are completed, the car blasts back onto the circuit. The classes, well, there is the overall situation, which is for the pros. Then you've got the Silver Cup, and there is Pro-Am, and you score points within those classes. It means that everybody has something to fight for, and even if you're an AM, you've still got a chance of going home, having been on the top step of the podium. This weekend, 26 cars from 6 manufacturers, Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, Mercedes and Porsche, are all on the grid. Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS, is part of the global competition. That is led by Mercedes AMG from Audi Sport and then Ferrari. The grid is forming then as the cars make their way from the long pit lane round onto the circuit. It's not the sunniest of days, but it's dry, it's warm, and the teams are about to do battle in this penultimate 60-minute race. It could be that the championship overall is decided in this race if the number 32 Audi can outscore the Acodis ASP Mercedes by a further 6 points. They'd have moved it out of reach going into tomorrow's race. You're looking again at the grid that just scrolls through with Elise de Pauw and Charles Weerts on row 1 and Simon Gachet and Peter Scotthorst on row 2. Jim Pla, the best of the Mercedes drivers, on row 3 with Gilles Magnus qualifying well, second in silver. 6th on the grid ahead of Thomas Neubauer, the silver endurance champion, and Aurélien Panis. Then Dennis Lind and Jean-Baptiste Simonard are on the 5th row of the grid. The 6th row is where you will find the cars of Valentino Rossi and Ezequiel Perez Companc, Audi and Mercedes. Then row 7, Luca Giotto's Audi and Eddie Cheever in the Sky Tempesta Mercedes. The 8th row of the grid, Casper Stevenson, which is going to line up alongside Petru Umberescu. Remember Stevenson with the grid drop, he's ahead of Giorgio Roda and Manuel Maldonado. Next up, there is the Porsche in the hands of Adrian Delina, and he is alongside Timur Boguslavski ahead of Hugo Delacour and Miguel Ramos lining up 22nd on the grid for Garage 59. Patrick Kaprinski and Louis Mackils come next, and then the last row of the grid, Danny Cruz and the penalised Alex Arca. Looking back there from the Timur Boguslavski Mercedes, behind is the Ferrari, which is going to be started from the Pro-Am competition by Hugo Delacour. So it is the penultimate race of the year in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. The leading car peels into the pit lane. The lights will change from red to green. The race gets underway. Now they blast away. A good start is made by de Pauw, and Charles Weerts is being gobbled up, isn't he, on the way down to the first corner. Dennis Lind, a tremendous start in the McLaren. Dives through the middle. They funnel into the first corner. 1 or 2 get run out wide, and Weerts is one of them. De Pauw comes out in front. Everybody else is second, look, because there's a massive gaggle of them all tripping over one another. Dennis Lind has gone backwards as they get to turn 2. They're 3 wide in the mid-pack, and up into second place, by the look of it, has gone Simon Gachet.
And one of the Mercedes got tagged coming through turn 3. I mean, it is an absolute traffic jam on this opening lap. Oh, and again, contact. One of the Ferraris, I think, got tagged going through turn 5. But the lead Ferrari has got that little comfortable gap to the 32 Audi, but oh, look at the, it's just mad behind.
I think the car that went off was Gilles Magnus in the red Audi, in fairness, but he survived it as way out wide there around the Mercedes. They're going to have to pay to get back in. They're going so wide, but it is up front, and Elise de Pauw that leads the way down. This is Boguslavski's view. He's trying to carve his way through the traffic, but it's not easy.
It was just side by side, Valentino Rossi on the outside of the Sky Tempesta. Mercedes-AMG GT3 going through that long turn 10. And so watching yet again, this acceleration brake, that's watching on board from Eddie Cheever, looking forward to the rear of the sister Mercedes.
So up towards the end of lap 1, we need to see where Wirtz is in the order. We need to see where Boguslavski is, but the leader is Ulysse de Pauw. Second place, it is Simon Gachet's Audi as they come across the line. The Ferrari still trying to warm up the tyres as they come through. Charles Wirtz is third then, look, as they come across the line. In fourth place is the McLaren of Dennis Lind. In fifth place is Jim Plas. Sixth there, the Audi of Peter Schothorst. Neubauer is seventh. Eighth is Panis. Ninth is Giotto. 10th is Stevenson. And Boguslavski is in 16th place.
Yeah, and he was almost trying to make it 15th. He couldn't quite get alongside the Audi into turn 1. So he backed out of it wisely, because any contact would be, well, would be the race and the possible championship over.
That in the pit lane is Patrick Krapinski, and we've lost Adrian Delina's Porsche. I can see it out of our window. It's facing the wrong way. It's hit the barriers, heading up towards
turn 12.
Turn 12. And the car is going no further. The yellow flags are out in that sector. You can see that reflected in the graphics on the screen as the cars then now make their way towards the incident zone. Safety car being deployed then. Safety car deployed. That sort of helps. Marcello, that is what I was talking about before the race, of having the cars closer together for his stint, and that in a very badly damaged state is Adrian Delina's Porsche. He's okay, as you can see, but the car is rather less so.
Yeah, the rear end of the car must have gone backwards into the barrier.
Replay at the start, John.
So a good start by the Ferrari. Charles Wirtz tries, but look, coming up through the middle is a McLaren, and there's a whole sort of swarm of Audis all diving into turn 1, and it would be Simon Gachet that comes out in second place. I mean, it's a very wide entrance, it's a wide exit. We saw how wide it was. Look at 6 cars wide coming down. I mean, I've never seen as wide a field of cars, but there it is. Actually, Dennis Lind just about managed to avoid contact with Simon Gachet, and maybe the loser momentarily was Charles Wirtz.
And then there was this scramble. Have a look at the red Audi. Gilles Magnus goes diving up on the inside out, breaks himself, slithers off the road. That's what we've seen from outside. And also going off the road behind one of the 2 Garage 59 McLarens. Now, which one was that? That was Manuel Maldonado.
Green.
And Dennis Lind glued to the rear of Charles Wirtz. Simon Gachet trying to do much the same. So there's a gap now between second and third place. I don't know why Charles Wirtz allowed that to open up, but anyway, there we are, and certainly out of the top 6, no clear benefit or advantage. Again, Ulysse de Pauw just putting a little bit of heat into the tires to guarantee when he turns in. Look at the McLaren having a sniff up the inside of Charles Wirtz.
Well, we know that Dennis Lind is always determined, so the reigning British GT champion, he's been the Fanatec GT Asia champion, he has been Lamborghini Super Trofeo champion, drops back a little bit coming out of turn 2. Wirtz on the attack now against Simon Gachet, but Dennis Lind under braking tries to claw back the lost time. He is taking with him Jim Plas in 5th place. Remember, Boguslavski is down in 17th and has got work to do, and the other Porsche there is in strife because being forced out wide is Giorgio Roda, and he's in danger of losing another couple of places. The Audi right there on his tail, Alex Zarka up from the back of the grid.
I think some of this we're seeing maybe with the McLaren, certainly with the Porsche, lack of front tyre temperature tags, the back of the 90 Mercedes, and contact between the Porsche and the Mercedes, and that was clearly just the one car, the Porsche, getting into the back of another car, the Mercedes, up in turn 8.
Petru and Barescu in the Mercedes. Damage to the Porsche, looks like a punctured tyre, so the Porsche limps on, but it's been a really miserable first few laps for Dynamic Motorsport. One out of the race with lots of damage, one heading for the pits. Now, on board with Wirtz, his stint is coming to an end because the window will open in just over 4 minutes' time, and he's absolutely determined now to get past Gachet, who dare one say is the cork in the bottle because he's got the ball queued up behind him.
Yes, but Gachet has not enabled Wirtz to find a way around past. He can close, he can catch, but he hasn't been able to. And here, coming through turn 13, you can see how much the gap opens up now onto the brakes and get the car with it closed down. But here, Wirtz slightly wider than Gachet that time into turn 14.
And off the road is the Mad Panda Mercedes, I think that is. So Ezequiel Perez Companc is off the racetrack, back on board with Wirtz. Pit window is open. Now, are we going to get a safety car with that off the circuit? And now the teams that gamble could come out as winners.
So Dries van Thor standing there waiting for Charles Wirtz to come in and hand the car over. So I suppose one might say there's no surprise that WRT will take the earliest opportunity, and waiting to see when they come through the exit of turn 14, whether that will be followed by Simon Gachet, and both are in. No, Gachet has come in, so Vert stays out.
So what that has now done is give him second place, but it's also given him a clear road ahead, so he can now push to try and reduce that gap before he does pit.
I wonder, was that WRT playing a joker to encourage Tress about car auction, or car collection, to bring their car in, and maybe they've sold them a dummy?
We need to see where that Mercedes is in relation to the edge of the road, and at the moment it's all being covered by a yellow flag rather than any suggestion of the race being neutralised. So the wheels are changed on the Mercedes. Jim Pla giving way to Tristan Vautier. Away it blasts. Into the pits has come the race leader. Into the pits has come Charles Weerts as well. So De Pauw and Weerts, the two Belgian drivers, are in. Pierre-Alexandre Jean ready to take over the Ferrari. And at WRT, Charles Weerts now being replaced behind the wheel by Dries Van Thor. So does Christopher Haase maintain track position over Dries Van Thor? We shall find out, because that car, number 11 Audi, is on track. Its pit stop time was 48.7 seconds. And that is a good stop, actually, of those that we've had thus far. 48.7, but 32 Charles Weerts blasts away. And looks like he's going to drop back behind Haase. Here comes the leader then, Pierre-Alexandre Jean. There is Christopher Haase on the inside, goes back ahead of the WRT Audi.
And the car collection pit stop was 0.3 of a second quicker than WRT. So, I mean, nothing lost or gained in effect by either team, and both teams did excellent jobs in turning the cars round to get them back out and status quo.
One or two of those cars running wide in the background are coming out of the pits. Others are very, very wide. So battle is on here. Look, you've got Tristan Vautier trying to keep at bay now the McLaren number 112 Vincent Abril at the wheel of it. They run nose to tail. Both have made their pit stops. Dennis Lin giving way to Vincent Abril. But Pierre-Alexandre Jean leads the way then. But the gap is down, isn't it? So that pit stop was a slow one, 52.9. It was a slow stop. They've still got the lead, but PAJ is going to have to go for it now and try and build up that margin again. The pit window is now closed, so everybody that's still in the race has served their stop. And drama there, because that is a Mercedes off the road. Is that Marchiello's car? It is 88 Tristan Vautier who has been off the road. He's back on again, so Vautier drops back. That will give Marchiello another place, but Vautier off the circuit.
Yeah, and turn 8, don't know whether that was an assist or whether it was a self-induced spin, but Tristan Vautier, let's wait and see. Well, you can see up the inside the McLaren, yes, there's going to be a tag from the McLaren, just ever so light, but doesn't matter. The car's at the very delicate point of the turn-in, and that is a reason why the Mercedes is in the gravel.
Full course yellow now.
So full course yellow. And it's all to do with this Mad Panda Mercedes. Now, it's been there for about 7 laps, but now I think the race director has decided it's got to be moved. You can't keep a yellow flag there for the rest of the race. So full course yellow, but it's taken us a while to get to that point, but we're there now to move that out of the way. Now, if you follow Fanatec GT, you'll know that the process is that if it's a longish full course yellow period and tire temperature and pressure drops, we go safety car to quicken the pace, ready for the restart. So I would envisage that we will go safety car again. Now let's have another look at how the Mad Panda Mercedes got there.
Runs back. Strange. Just
something break as he hit the curb?
Don't know. He sort of made his apex, ran the curb, and then the car just more or less took off on its own trajectory.
Green flag, green flag.
So we go racing, and straight away, Pierre-Alexandre Jean tries to build that lead. The Ferrari really good in a straight line. Second, then is Haase. Third is Van Thor. Fourth is Goethe. And there, Niederhauser and Marchiello go through turn 1 absolutely together, riding on board with Raffaele Marchiello. Patrick Niederhauser defends. Lello goes to the outside line, dives up towards turn 2, gets run out wide. The Audi comes back at him on the inside. Marchiello has got to throw everything at this. He's got 15 minutes in which to keep alive his championship hopes, and he's in danger of losing a place now, because there, Christopher Mies has a go at him.
So it gets through, and that was, it started all on the way up into turn 2. So 1 position gained by Marchiello. And Christopher Mies, well, not much he could do about it. He defended in turn 2, but inevitably Marcello, a force to be reckoned with.
A bit of contact in the background there. We had Cedric Sprazioli bouncing off Christian Clean. Now, what's happened to Dean McDonald in 188? Because the Pro-Am leader has dropped to last in class. So we've had dramas on that previous lap. Cedric Sprazioli's Ferrari now leads Pro-Am with Christian Clean alongside him. But Dean McDonald, who was leading, has fallen to last in Pro-Am on that restart lap.
And there it is.
And there's drama, even more drama, because that's involved Andrea Bertolini as well.
Oh dear, oh dear. So, contact coming. Let's watch and see what happens. Where's the...
So the field pulls through.
They're coming to... There they are now. Well, the Ferrari and the McLaren side by side.
They touch. It almost looked like they just spun in sympathy.
If there was a touch, it was a very light touch, but it's difficult to see. There's certainly air between some parts of the car.
And Dries van Thor in third place, waiting to see what pans out ahead of him. So, Pierre-Alexandre Jean leads, coming up towards the timing line. Can he hang on in there for another 6 minutes and change? Over the timing line they come. A flying lap is just over 1.5 minutes. Do the maths as to how many more laps we're going to get into the race. Into turn one, the Aspar. Left-hander they go. It is Ferrari, Audi, Audi. It is Jean, Haase, Van Thor. That is the order.
I think Pierre-Alexandre Jean might have regrouped sufficiently, but look, Christopher Haase still feels there's opportunities. But Ferrari, what's the gap? It was 0.3 of a second when they came across the line. It's irrelevant. You can't get an awful lot closer without actually overtaking. Watch Marcello, is he going to make a move up? Had a little look to see whether he could find a way around Niederhauser. So he hasn't given up.
No. And this is his chance, isn't it? But look, Niederhauser again knows exactly where to put the car. Covers off the inside line. Marcello to the outside. It's a long way round, but he's going to have a good go at it. The road might come to him on the next corner, but Niederhauser runs him out wide. Marcello keeps his foot in. Outside for the next corner, the inside for the hairpin, and through he goes. Raffaele Marcello dives up the inside into turn 11, and through he has gone. Brilliant bit of driving. Raffaele Marcello started it 3 corners back, stood his ground, let the road come to him. All of that hard work is only for 9th place, but Raffaele Marcello, with 3 minutes to go, has not given up. And this was the move to the outside line, John.
Very difficult to go in the long way around. Niederhauser, in fairness, didn't run him off the racetrack, albeit he put a couple of wheels off. But once they got into this sequence of left and right, you can see the Audi was then the car that was wrong-footed. Mercedes up the inside, consolidates, controls the racetrack, and job done.
So I think it's job done for Dries van Thor, for Charles Weerts, for Vincent Voss's WRT team. For 3 in a row in Sprint Cup. It's going to come down then to the penultimate race, not the ultimate, but that means that we've still got another good race to look forward to from a grid we don't yet know how it's going to form, because it's qualifying tomorrow morning for that. So now there's the silver champions, Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw, looking for a second outright win of the year. The third car, Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts, looking for their 3rd Sprint Cup title in a row.
So Van Thor has dropped back marginally. And I think likewise Christopher Haase feels that I've given it the best I've got, but the Ferrari today just had the legs of all of us, and well driven by both Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw to score a victory.
Last lap of the race, Raffaele Marcello, absolute best first sector, but it is going to be a race win in Fanatec GT for Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw. It is going to be a 3rd Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup title for Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts, 3rd across the line, and that is enough to give them the championship 3 in a row. And Charles Weerts, as you can see, is absolutely delighted.
No, a great job by a superb team and a very good driver lineup.
But let's first of all hear from Ulysse de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, race winners at Valencia, and they are with Gemma.
Congratulations, boys. That was a fantastic race. So much pressure on you throughout. You had no chance to back off.
Yeah, honestly, stint was not easy. Ulysse did a mega job like this morning. He gave me a good car. Which was important because every time we lose a bit on the street, even though the guys did a mega job. Yeah, it was hard. Was pushing behind. during the safety car, I lost the front pressure, so it was hard to get them back at the restart. Also, all the first part of the scene, I had to manage the yellow flag when you can improve. So that was not easy because I had better tires and better fuel than Ulysse. And I was improving, but I had to lift every time in front of the line. And also, last warning at the end was not easy to manage, but at the end it finished positively with the win. So very happy. Thank you to F. Corset, Ulysse, my sponsors, and everybody.
Congratulations, well done. And Ulysse, a quick word from you as well, of course. We saw the elation on your face right at the end there.
It's just amazing. It's the reward of a big season. We showed so much consistency. We started off with a win and a pole, and we kind of ended off with a pole and a win again at the overall with the Silver Crew. So it's just amazing. Thank you to everyone. It feels great, and now we have to try to do the same tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well done once again. Thank you.
A second overall win and a fifth silver win of the season for Ulysse de Pauw and for Pierre-Alexandre Jean. They are celebrating a championship won in July, so far ahead where they won at Mazzano, the Sprint Cup silver. But for the overall champions, Dries van Thor hasn't done a lot of smiling this year, it feels. Did win the Nürburgring in 24 hours, I'll grant you, but there have been more highs in sprint than in endurance, and it's as much relief, I think, as it is happiness that he's won the Sprint Cup for the third year in a row. It's time we heard from our two sprint champions because Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor are ready to talk to Gemma.
Boys, congratulations. You are champions once again, 3 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, a bit speechless, I would say. It's it's just amazing. Already to have it 2 times in a row was quite insane, but yeah, just now it's completely insane. So yeah, I mean, also it was the birthday of my father 2 days ago, so I wanted to do this as a gift for him. So mon anniversaire, c'est pour toi, celle-là, papa.
Super sure performance and a great result. Dries, the smile on your face. At last this weekend, we see you smiling.
Well, I mean, it was a weird end because my engineer was saying, yeah, it's not sure because there are some cars still. And then at the end, the last lap, the last corner, they told me it's clear. So I actually made some donuts and yeah, I mean, what an amazing day. I mean, it was a tricky race. We did not do a great, I mean, our pit stop wasn't great. The start was difficult. But, you know, we got the points. It's the first time also my dad actually is, well, he's watching my race, but it's the first time he's actually here since a while. So it's good fun that you know, that he's here as well. So, yeah, I would like to thank everyone. My girlfriend, my dad, my mom, Milan, a good friend of mine who's making sure my Instagram is on point, so thanks a lot, mate. And yeah, I mean, what an amazing day so far.
A great way to end the season with Audi and WRT, eh?
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you very much, boys. Well done once again.
Charles Weerts, Dries van Thor then are champions. Timur Boguslavski, Raffaele Marciello second. And then the fight's on for third. That'll go down to the wire tomorrow because Ulysse de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre Jean are just ahead of Simon Gachet and Christopher Hauser. And on the top step of the podium are the AF Corsa drivers. The team is represented on the podium as well. So the team's trophy is presented as Manuel Ivino, the RFEDA president, steps forward to give the winners' trophies to Pierre-Alexandre Jean and now to Ulysse de Pauw. Let's just have a look at the points in Pro-Am. Champions, Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald, with Andrea Bertolini and Louis Machiels now second, but they're only 3 points ahead of Cedric Sprazzuoli, who's 1.5 points up on Patrick Krupinski and Christian Klein. So again, for second and third and fourth, there are battles to be resolved tomorrow when we have that final race of the season underway. And then the winning team, JP Motorsport, will receive its trophy, and the winning drivers will receive theirs. So it'd be great to see, wouldn't it? Christian Klein fighting for an outright win, but putting behind the wheel of that McLaren, and he doesn't half fly.
It's been a progress. Look, McLaren, the 720S, has certainly come forward, and at different points during the season, whether it was the Garage 59 or the JP Motorsports cars, they've shown either great straight line speed or good lap speed, and it maybe takes another season for them to get to the position where they can start challenging on a regular basis for top podium steps.
So after a sunny Saturday, it's a soggy Sunday. We've had quite a lot of rain late morning through lunchtime. The track is wet, the 10-minute board is being shown to the drivers, and we're going to have 2 formation laps, the second one of which will count within the hour. There is more rain forecast within the next couple of hours. So it could be that even though the road is certainly drier now than it was 45 minutes or so ago, it might get wetter before the end of this final Sprint Cup race of the season. We have still got a couple of things to look for in terms of championships, because if Marcello and Boguslavski finish ahead of Van Thor wins in this race, they're going to win the combined championship outright.
2 formation lap, and the clock will start at the end of the first formation lap.
And the race director saying what I just explained. Also to bear in mind that the overall silver championship could be won here in favour of Thomas Neubauer and Benjamin Goethe, because if they finish ahead of number 99 Audi of Alex Alker and Nicolas Scherl, will win that combined silver award as well. Now, John Watson, this is the Valencia circuit.
4 kilometres, 2.5 miles, 14 turns. The middle section of the circuit, tight, twisty, technical, and then the last corner onto the fastest part of the racetrack down into turn 1, about 260 kilometres an hour with a small tailwind. Going to be a bit leery, certainly for the first 2 or 3 laps, as the drivers explore where the grip levels are. Track limits, of course, has always been a big factor here. And down at turn 1, up at turn 6 and turn 14 onto the pit straight, the key areas around the lap. Now, Valentino Rossi's fans are here en masse. Let's hear from Valentino. We caught up with him a little earlier down in his garage.
Vale, obviously, we've come to see you in the garage prior to the race because the rain set in. It was slightly unexpected to be this wet.
Yeah, it's a great shame because we were enjoying the track. Our pace was not so bad on the dry, but now it's wet and it's very much. It's full wet, and so we need to understand our pace, our performance. Usually, Fred is fast under this condition. Me, I don't know because I tried the car 1 or 2 times under the water. We will see.
It's the first wet race we've had this season. I think it's a miracle. But let's just focus on being here in Valencia for one moment, because you've got a huge amount of love here at the circuit. There's a wonderful mural painted on the wall. Is it special for you to come back here?
Yes, it's special because for us in MotoGP, Valencia is always a special track because it's the last one of the season. So you decide a lot of championship, and it's always a special weekend. And here I have always a lot of support from the Spanish fans, and also here yesterday I have a lot of people, and so it's always a great pleasure.
We're seeing yellow umbrellas and ponchos everywhere now.
Yes, exactly.
Have a great race. Thanks a lot, Vale.
Grazie, thank you. Ciao.
There is that mural that you've been hearing about, and yes, Valentino Rossi merchandise has done a roaring trade at every event we have been to this year. There are many of his fans still in their Yamaha hats or t-shirts, and that is the grid. The road, John, now looking more greasy than wet. It's drying a touch.
It is. What I think is rather strange is that track temperature, for example, is still 24 Celsius. This morning when they were out for qualifying, when it was dry, it was 24 Celsius. So albeit that the racetrack is wet, the track temperature is high, which is in one sense good for the tyre performance, but it's not so good if the rain stays away, because pretty quickly you'll see a dry line appearing, and then you've got this issue of whether you come into the pits before the pit stop window to make the mandatory stop, or can you hang out and make a dry change in that window.
So the changing track conditions are going to be an extra factor. We had a very rapid Dennis Lind yesterday sharing the McLaren with Vincent Abril. Dennis is with Gemma.
Dennis, we couldn't go the weekend without chatting to you. After the start that you made yesterday, that was incredible.
Yeah, it felt pretty cool in the car. It wasn't, I think it looked better on the outside and more adventurous, but yeah, I didn't really have a lot of gaps, but I just kept my foot pinned and hoped for the best.
It looked very good from your onboard camera as well when you showed me the footage, but of course today things are going to be slightly harder for Vincent starting in the wet.
Yeah, well, I was here in 2016 with the Super Trofeo, and this track sort of becomes twice as wide when there's rain on it for some reason. It's really, it's not easy to overtake, but it becomes a possibility. In the dry, it's quite difficult to do it. So I think there's more options for fights today, to be honest.
Oh, you think it's going to be a good race ahead then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No worries.
And it was here that Dennis Lind was Super Trofeo champion. He won that at the Lamborghini World Finals. Christopher Hauser knows his way around here. And he and Simon Gachet had a good run yesterday, finishing in second place in yesterday's race. And it's Christopher Hauser who will go first. The start driver, remember, is the driver that set the qualifying time. So you get an idea of their pace because of where they're starting on the grid.
Yes, and there's a sort of quite a different grid to the one we saw for Saturday's sprint race. For example, the 89 Mercedes, Timo Boguslawski, who qualified for that race, and Raffaele Marcello qualified for today's race. The car today is at the front of the grid. When Timo Boguslawski qualified, it was much further back, and on top of which he suffered a 3-grid drop, a penalty for some infringement, and it meant that the task of trying to attack the 32 and take the championship to this day, to this race, unfortunately, it failed.
Well, drivers on board, the fans starting to put down their umbrellas because it is certainly better than it was half an hour, 45 minutes or so ago. The road is going to catch out the unwary. They will, as you've been hearing, get 2 formation laps, the second one counting within the hour. It's a time duration of a set number of laps, and engines will soon be firing. The grid is now being cleared. Klaus Bachler, number 56 Porsche. That was a car damaged yesterday, but Klaus Bachler did a good job in qualifying this morning.
Hopefully these conditions might suit the Porsche, but I'm just saying the first lap is the parade lap. The second lap is then effectively the first lap of the race. But will the start be side by side at the end of the second lap, or will it be single file?
Ordinarily, it will be a 2x2 rolling start formation, as it would be for a conventional start. We'll wait and see, but normally they would be gridded up in that way. So they get to the end of the second lap, and start to put themselves in formation, ready for the start. Yeah,
that'll certainly make it a lot more interesting into turn 1.
Indeed. So Dennis Marshall there, bound to watch because he's been having a good run of late. There is Patrick Niederhauser. He had a good fight yesterday with Raffaele Marciello, number 25, the Santa Loc Audi that won, of course, at Hockenheim in the last endurance round. And number 25 Audi then starting 4th on the grid, 9th yesterday. And number 159, Nikolai Sjægaard, that was 14th yesterday, the car that he shares with Manuel Maldonado. Nikolai Sjægaard, absolutely inspired this morning, made that car absolutely fly. And it is 3rd on the grid, the best McLaren on the grid.
And we've seen consistent performance from McLaren throughout the weekend. They've shown, again, in qualifying, very strong performances. What they have to now is be able to translate that into a finishing performance. So it's a bit of an unknown for everybody. We've not really had a wet race this year. I know that Brands Hatch, the second race, was what I would call damp, but because there's no wet, dry, or wet, damp, dry options, it's either wet or dry. So it was deemed to be a wet race, but it was basically just damp. And these conditions are probably not a million miles away now. And again, going back to if the track with the ambient temperature at the minute is 22 degrees, dries the track quite quickly, it's going to be an interesting strategic choice for the teams.
So you can see how road has dried now as we segue our way up the grid. We'll go through the grid with the start drivers in due course, just to pick out 1 or 2 of the cars. The Porsches, much better place with the pros doing the times today. It was Raffaele Marciello, of course, on pole position. Dries van Voor on his outside. A little bit further back on the grid, you get to Christopher Mies there, lining up alongside Dean McDonald, who yesterday with Miguel Ramos won the Pro-Am Championship. Behind is Vincent Abril, sharing with Dennis Lind. Actually, the further back up the grid you go, the damper it starts to look, doesn't it? Number 30 there on the verge of winning the combined silver championship, the Thomas Neubauer, Benjamin Goethe Audi. Fred Vervies starting in Valentino Rossi's number 46 Audi, and Valet set for his first wet car race. Then as you go back a little bit further, you see number 21 Ferrari, another of the Pro-Am entries, the car of Hugo Delacour, Cedric Sprazzuoli. There, the white Ferrari, yesterday's winning car, a gearbox issue and track limit offences condemned it to be only 21st in qualifying. Pierre-Alexandre Jean at the wheel of it. And then the back row of the grid is where you find the Sky Tempesta Racing Mercedes of Chris Froggatt and number 18 of Josh Krieger, the graduate of Dutch Club Racing. That car having been looked at on its formation lap to the grid, its installation lap, for not having its rear lights working. But fingers crossed that's now been attended to on the grid. So 1 formation lap, then a second within the hour. So the first lap of the race will be still under the control of the officials.
You're quite right, David. The track conditions look different because the front 4 rows of the grid look as if they're on a different level or different grade of tarmac to those that are further back. So again, that's something for drivers to be aware of, that there will be maybe different grades of tarmac all around the racetrack. And of course, if you run wide on those painted run-off areas, well, it's in your own hands.
So the leading car, acting as the pace car, gets ready on the instruction of the race director to lead them away. So Raffaele Marciello, 3 sprint wins to his name, lines up on pole position, and 3 sprint wins to Dries van Thor alongside. Dries has already, with Charles Weerts, won this sprint championship, and Raffaele Marciello is after not only the endurance but also the combined championship, where you take the endurance and the sprint points together, and as long as 89 Mercedes outscores, in other words, stays ahead of 32 Audi, then that championship is done. Raffaele Marciello starts alongside Dries van Thor at the front, ahead of Nikolai Kjærgaard third and Patrick Niederhauser fourth. Dennis Marshall's Audi will start fifth, and then the better of the Porsches, that of Klaus Bachler, goes from sixth, ahead of teammate Christian Engelhardt. Eighth is where you find Christopher Haase. Starting ninth, Pro-Am champion Dean McDonald. He outpaced Christopher Mies in qualifying. He outpaced the JP Motorsport Pro Class car of Vincent Abril too. Then it's Mathieu Drudy ahead of Thomas Drouet. Benjamin Goethe, silver combined champion-elect, having won it in endurance already. He's going from 14th on the grid, ahead of Christian Kleen, Pro-Am winner yesterday. Then, with a lot of work to do after a grid drop, Fred Verviche 16th, ahead of Fabian Schiller, whose car retired yesterday. Cedric Sprazzioli is next, then Tristan Vautier and Igor Walilko, who was in the wars yesterday. Only 21st, the silver champions, Pierre-Alexandre Jean, Ulysse de Pauw alongside Nicholas Bart. Nicholas Schurl goes from 23rd. He's got a lot of work to do to keep the Silver Cup hopes alive. Andrea Bertolini alongside him, then Chris Froggatt and Josh Kreuger at the back of the grid. And now that the cars are circulating, you get an idea of how much spray is being generated from those Pirelli wet tyres.
Yeah, visibility into turn 1 is going to be a problem. Out of turn 1 is going to be a bigger problem. Here we are around the sort of midway through the circuit, and you can see there's still a lot of not quite standing water, but the track here clearly very wet indeed. Visibility will be a major issue, so the quick and the brave may take a chance, but if you can't see where the car ahead of you is, it's a risk that you may regret.
So looking back from Raffaele Marciello's Mercedes, remember we don't go racing at the end of this lap. The end of the second is when the race will get underway. So this is another chance for the drivers to find out where the puddles are. Remember, they've had no wet running all weekend other than coming to the grid. Friday was a very hot and sunny day. Yesterday was dry all day, and it got sunnier as the day went on. Today is the only day that we've had the rain, and so to give the drivers an opportunity to discover, even at a lower speed, admittedly, where it might be treacherous, then hence this second formation lap. But Alain Adon, the race director, keen that it's a conventional style start as best it can be. Number 11 there, Christopher Haase, with all of his experience. But John, as you've been making the point, keeping out of trouble for the first 2, 3, 4 corners is going to be absolutely crucial to your result here.
It is. I mean, it doesn't look as if there's any standing water anywhere around the racetrack, but there are bits clearly that are wetter here coming onto start-finish straight, you can see. And it will be there that the visibility issues will become worse. Whereas when you get to the end of the straight into turn 1 on that different tarmac, that visibility will marginally improve, but it will be difficult for everybody basically back from the front 2 rows. The level of spray that the Pirelli tyre will throw up will cause you really to be driving into a fog. You'll have very little forward visibility. It'll all be the peripheral visibility, using those reference points to recognize which part of the racetrack you're on.
But it does look like it stopped raining. It's the spray hanging in the air now, not more rain falling. Every time we look at Charles Weerts, he's on his phone, and once again has got his head peering towards it, as now the car's on this second formation lap, but the race having effectively started, the clock ticking on down, they work their way around this 4-kilometre long circuit. The majority of the corners named after heroes of motorcycle racing, but the last corner named after Adrian Campos, the former Minardi Grand Prix driver and Spanish single-seater team owner, nurturer of Spanish talent in car racing, who sadly passed away not long ago. But they turn now up through the Ángel Nieto corner, another motorcycle hero, and this is riding on board with Dean McDonald. We say it every time, but it's worth making the point because he has really been one of the most impressive drivers this season, hasn't he?
Yes, I think that he stepped into this McLaren and more or less immediately showed great pace, and as the seasons progressed and his experience, but more his maturity within the car and within the team, has been one of the highlights to me of a rookie season.
Well, there with the field behind, coming up now through the little S's at turns 9 and 10, is the leading car, Raffaele Marciello. Then the pole man has got the cars all tucked up behind him. They'll start to get themselves ready for the start of the race shortly. Frédéric Verviche there, the Belgian driver, starting from 16th on the grid after Valentino Rossi picked up enough behavioural warning points to merit a grid drop. So there's this totting up process that if you get to 5, you get a grid drop there. Number 159, Nikolai Sheargard, graduate of the British single-seater scene, occasional historic racer. His father has a nice Daytona Cobra Coupe that Nikolai has raced on occasions, and now you see the cars get themselves into that 2x2 Noah's Ark style rolling start formation, ready with the clock nudging 57.5 minutes to get this second race of the weekend, the last Sprint Cup race of Fanatec GT in Europe underway for 2022. It has been a combative season, and now on a greasy circuit then. Let's find out who is going to come out on top. We get set to go racing. The Mercedes on pole position, Raffaele Marciello, the championship-winning Audi alongside Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts. They rumble their way up towards the timing line on instruction. The lights will change to green. We go racing, and a really keen start there. Look for the Porsche in the background. Christian Engelhardt is on his toes. 3, 4 wide. People trying to gain ground. People trying to gain visibility as well as they hammer down towards the first corner. Look back. Marciello has got the lead. Van Thor has been bugged as they dive down to the first corner. Nikolai Sheargard goes second, and a good start also there by Patrick Niederhauser to go third. Looking back from Marciello's Mercedes, he leads. Niederhauser there behind in second place, but where is Sheargard in the McLaren? He's up the inside line. The Mercedes leads, and everybody else is trying to be second, but it's Niederhauser who just gets ahead. Van Thor goes back up to third. Sheargard fourth as they come through turn 4, and drama so far is averted.
Managed to get through the first 3 corners without any incident whatsoever, but very close. Everybody being probably more cautious than they anticipated they would be. But Raffaele Marciello's had that dream start. He's got clear visibility, and behind it's a battle of the Audis. Oh, well, there's one of the Ferraris. That 52,
21. Yeah. So that's the Delacour Sprazioli Ferrari that's had a drama, and he's heading to the pit lane, potentially Cedric Sprazioli at the wheel of it. Marciello leads then as they come here through turn 8. And you can see they're still squabbling behind. Drivers looking for the grip, and sometimes, John, isn't there a little bit more grip on the outside of the line?
There is. Often drivers will take that wide line because that part of the racetrack, which is fundamentally the dirtier part of the racetrack, but it doesn't have race rubber, it's got loose rubber. So that's sometimes the quicker way. I don't know whether that will pay dividends at Valencia or not. The nature of the racetrack is such that the corners are not particularly long. It's where you've got a longer corner that will work in your favour.
Cedric Sprazioli's Ferrari had a spin, we understand. That's why it's been delayed as the leaders come then now down towards turn 14, the Adrian Campos corner up toward the end of the opening lap as there Christopher Halser is under attack from Mathieu Drudi. The 2 teammates go toe-to-toe. The leader across the line, Raffaele Marciello, at the end of lap 2, the first racing lap. He is getting away then from Patrick Niederhauser. He's nearly 2 seconds to the good already.
Yeah, now it's easy-ish for Marciello. He had a great start, got into turn 1 and cleared off. So all he has to do is focus on what he needs to do to stay ahead and pull forward, while all the others essentially are having a battle. Dries van Thor has actually managed to pull a little bit down the inside, the Porsche and the Audi. Well, Porsche's made it work.
That was Klaus Battler, but he got his elbows out and he's gone through. And also, look, here comes Christopher Mies to get up alongside the Audi as well. So Mathieu Drudi there loses out. The Audi couldn't quite find a way through. Now to the outside line dives Vincent Abril, looking to buy into this as well. Benjamin Goethe's Gulf liveried Audi is there. Look at Abril going to the outside line up towards turn 6 now. Again, hunting for traction, being careful not to leave the door open. Tries to go all the way around the outside of Christopher Mies, gets sideways up the curb, and it didn't work.
Tried hard, almost made it work, but he was on that slippery part of the curve. So Christopher Mies could consolidate, but now coming down into turn 8, probably the most favoured part of the racetrack for overtakes to take place. Vincent Abril wide around, taking that optional line. Others sticking more or less to the race line. But again, visibility is limited.
Fred Verviche battling with Christian Klein there. That's Verviche, number 46 Audi. And behind him is the Pro-Am, Christian Klein driven McLaren 720S out of the JP Motorsports stable, the winning class car of yesterday. There, 33, Christopher Mies, relatively recent dad for the first time, and he is here trying to hold up the traffic as the cars make their way toward the end of lap 3. Christopher Mies, part of that winning combination at the last endurance race at Hockenheim, one of the big surprise results of the season. As across the timing line now comes Raffaele Marciello, then the Italian leading the Swiss driver Patrick Niederhauser. The gap is up to 2.3 seconds. There is Van Thor on a mission in third place.
Yeah, Niederhauser pulled over to the right-hand side of your screen, left-hand side of the track. I think that he's already thinking about, is the racing line beginning to get to the stage where I need to keep my wet weather tyres as cool as possible. First driver I've seen do that, and I just wonder if that's what we're going to see a lot more of.
And there you can see the blue McLaren of Nikolai Sheargard leading the Silver Cup at the moment from Benjamin Goethe. in the Gulf liveried Audi, and then the Acodis ASP yellow and blue Mercedes of Thomas Drouet, third in class. So as you look at the Pro-Am leading car, also out of Garage 59, Dean McDonald at the wheel. He's this year's Pro-Am champion. The other car to keep an eye on is Pierre-Alexandre Jean in yesterday's race-winning Ferrari. It is up into 19th place, but he's finding it hard to get through the traffic in the spray. This is Dean McDonald's view. When you're not that close to a car, it's not too bad, is it? But look further up the road, those that are close have got the spray.
Yeah, you're in that close proximity, but clearly you can see parts of the racetrack look a lot better. Look at the slide that Marcello had. And that's coming up into turn 9 and turn 10. So Raffaele Marcello pushing all the way, was 2.3 seconds in the lead at the end of lap 3.
You're on board with Van Thor then. He's running in third place. Let's have a look at the circuit, John.
Yes, into turns 10 and 11. So a quick flick to the right, then back to the left, then over through 12. And then the short curve, it's basically not a corner, 13. Then into the braking zone of turn 14, and these track conditions look to me to be improving relatively quickly. So we've got 8.5 minutes into the race, and another while to go before the pit lane opens. I just wonder what drivers are going to be able to do, because if the track continues to improve at the level it is doing, some drivers are going to have to go into a defensive mode to protect their tyres.
Ooh, up the curb goes Van Thor, and on the paint, suddenly the grip level really changed.
It did, and he was out celebrating last night as well.
So he comes now out of turn 2, kink at 3, speed building, and then he's back on the brake, slightly banked corner here, drop down towards turn 4, short straight, and the battles are going on behind him. So the field streams through as the race order on the timing tower. As you look at Fred Verviche, sandwiched between the JP Motorsport McLarens, and there the white Ferrari, the car that won yesterday. Pierre-Alexandre Jean trying to make progress, but he's a bit stuck in 19th place on the back of Tristan Vautier, subbing for Jules Gounon, who is complaining of a sore back, and he's trying to get himself match fit for Barcelona in 2 weeks' time. Now Pierre-Alexandre Jean to the inside line. Has he got the drive off the corner? The answer is no. The Mercedes stays ahead.
He had to really brake heavily to get the car slowed down to turn in, and that gave Vautier the opportunity just to run around the outside, get on the throttle a little bit sooner, and consolidate his position. But the thing, I keep going back to how much improved the conditions are. At the start of this race, visibility was very poor indeed. Now you can see cars all the way back through the field, albeit in a foggy type of spray, but nevertheless much more visible.
But is it drying up enough to make people roll the dice on tyres at the pit stops? Because the window is 25 to 35 minutes into the race. We're only 10 minutes into the race. It doesn't look to be drying up that quickly, does it, when you see a pack of cars like that with all the spray, and the drivers not only having to think about spray, but in 1 or 2 cases maybe condensation inside the car. Not too bad here for Pierre-Alexandre Jean. His biggest problem is he can't get past Vautier.
Well, he's got a car, he's got a good straight line speed directly ahead of him, and he's being restricted in his own natural pace by running as close as he is to the back of the Mercedes. But in regard to the spray, because of this different tarmac at different parts of the circuit, some bits are retaining the moisture more than others. Here coming into turn 1, much less. You can just see how Vautier was able to, a little battle, 2 Audis, the 2 Treasure by Car collection with a Porsche and the sandwich.
Absolutely right. That is 56 of Klaus Bachler, so 8th, 9th, 10th. And then behind them is Christopher Mies running in 11th place in the number 33 Audi. Team WRT he drives for in Sprint. Santalok in Endurance, and the fastest cars, as we were seeing yesterday, even though the conditions are different today, but the fastest cars through the VMAX, the top speed trap, the McLarens again, Vincent Abril and Nikolai Sheargard on 246 kilometers an hour. Then Klaus Bachler with the Porsche, Dean McDonald McLaren, Christian Klein McLaren all up there as well, north of 242 kilometers an hour, 243 for Klein, 244 for McDonald and Bachler.
Well, the benefit of having good top line speed, straight line speed, is you get options to overtake, but even with that benefit, we're not seeing very much overtaking taking place down into turn 1, where the benefit of that extra speed should be paying dividends.
Dennis Lynn suggesting pre-race that more options were there, but of course to do the overtaking you've got to go offline where it's damper, so it does become difficult. There's the spray again being generated. Dean McDonald 6th, Dennis Marshall 7th, McLaren versus Audi. And again here, look, Marshall looking the quicker of the 2. This has been a really kind circuit thus far this weekend to the Audis. Up towards the line they come, 48 minutes of the race to go. Much Yellow is now 4 seconds to the good. Second and third go through, Niederhauser and Van Thor, then Schiergaard. Engelhardt's Porsche running fifth, small gap back, sixth there. Dean McDonald, Pro-Am car sixth overall, and a Pro car seventh. That is Dennis Marshall.
Yeah, Dennis Marshall will be looking every which way to find a way to get around Dean McDonald. Look, you can see the way they're both moving around, one defending, one attacking. Likewise, the 56 Porsche looking to find its way to get through Klaus Bachler to get past Christopher Haase. And Dean McDonald, I mean, wherever he goes, he's shadowed by Dennis Marshall, and clearly, to me, the Audi is the quicker of these two cars, and this time manages to get up inside, but will he be out positioned up the hill? And looks like Dean McDonald is going to just about manage to hold it, but it'll be the undercut on the exit, or it's the overcut on the exit. So Dennis Marshall sweeps around the outside, takes the place away. Good clean pass, good overtaking by racing by both drivers.
Very good move. Miguel Ramos there watches on. He sees his car drop back a place, but crucially keeps out of trouble. And of course they won their championship yesterday. So Dean McDonald doesn't get into a fight that's going to put him in jeopardy. Yes, they'd like a good overall result, but it's not that battle they're really concentrating on. It's the class win they're after here.
Absolutely. So Dean McDonald, I'm sure, fully aware that Dennis Marshall is a pro car, pro driver. You know, defend, but don't put yourself into jeopardy. We want the result. So Marshall on his way. Maybe hasn't quite pulled out as much in the space of the half lap that we might have thought once he's gotten through.
This is turn 13, and the fastest man through it is Dean McDonald, as you can see on the Race Vision powered by AWS graphic. So the McLaren is a very rapid car indeed through that part of the circuit, as the number 12, the Audi in the hands of Mathieu Drudy, gets onto the back of Christopher Haase. The Porsche gets forced out wide there. Klaus Bachler in the middle of all of that. So great little battle as they come over the timing line. Audi, Porsche, Audi. Another Audi behind is Christopher Mies trying to stay with them.
Yeah, Bachler lost out, ran wide on the exit of turn 14. And now, not necessarily in the best position in the corner, looking to see the 12 come up the inside. So Matteo Drudy sort of one way again, back the other way. And then following Drudy, you got Christopher Mies, who will be, well, just reveling in these conditions.
But he can't quite get onto the back, can he, of Drudy, who is all over the back of Klaus Bachler. Christopher Haase is trying to escape. He goes deep into turn 4, looking for a grippier line. And he comes out the other side of the corner, still in that 8th place. The leader, by the way, Raffaele Marciello, 5 seconds to the good. Mies now is on the back of Drudy. So it's a 4-way battle pack, this. 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th places. Bachler defends. Round the outside comes Mies, then tries to go all the way around the outside of Drudy. And again, a bit more grip on the outside pays dividends.
I mean, I think Christopher Mies, we've just seen it. He was marginally quicker than Matteo Drudy and just goes to prove it now. Looks to see whether he can do anything with the Porsche. Porsche runs wide, just front end no bite, couldn't get the Porsche nose to stick in. So Matteo Drudy's all over the back now of Christopher Mies, having been in a reverse situation. So Mies might find himself subjected to an overtake, but not in that particular corner. You can't get the job done. It's not a corner where working around the outside works in your favor.
Down they dive once more towards turn 12. So number 56 Porsche there, hustling on. Klaus Bachler under attack from Christopher Mies, working his way forward. All of that experience of the car, the conditions, the circuit, starting to stand Christopher Mies in good stead as he dives down towards turn 14. Ahead of Matthieu Drudy now, and on the back of Klaus Bachler. So the cars come through, and one or two of them going for a drier part of the circuit. Let's see, Marciello leads. 6 seconds clear he is. He's also done the fastest lap, got the point for pole this morning. And his advantage, 6.2 seconds over Niederhauser. Christopher Mies then into the top 10. Fred Verviche goes through just a little bit further back. He's still running in 12th place, not making progress, and nor, for that matter, there, Pierre-Alexandre Jean. He's still struggling. He's in 18th, but life's tough.
Yes, and he's finding it difficult to get on terms with Thomas Duret in the Mercedes. So this is on board with a Ferrari. Ooh, tippy toe around the outside of turn 2. Then down into the sort of, well, it should be flat out kink of 3, but maybe in these conditions, it's just a little bit of a feather. Then down the hill into 4, then the short straight before you get 5, and then climb back up the hill. But, I mean, where's the spray gone?
Yeah.
It's vanished, except on the straight.
Indeed, yes, this looks a much drier part of the circuit, which again rather tricks the drivers, because perhaps they think they can push on a little bit more, and then they find themselves just going too deep into a corner, and that's happened over at turn 8, because further up the road from Pierre-Alexandre Jean, that battle pack we were looking at is all concertina, because it was Haase that ran deep, and there, look now, right on his tail is Bachler. This is for 8th. Christopher Hauser and Klaus Bachler being caught by Christopher Mies. Mies on a charge here. That, lest we forget, is the race leader.
And sublime, as ever, when Marcello's in the lead.
So Marcello comes up towards the line. If things stay as they are, then it would give Raffaele Marcello the combined Drivers' Championship, taking sprint and endurance together. Can't be caught because his rivals in sprint aren't in the hunt in endurance, and his endurance rivals don't do sprint. So in terms of the combined points table, it's looking good for Raffaele Marcello. If Timur Boguslavski can bring home the car without losing ground, without losing places. Second, third and fourth are bunching up. Look at Sheargard, he's coming back at Vanthor, isn't he?
Yeah, track conditions are changing. Maybe the less wet going into more sort of heavy damp. As we look at the 30 of the Gulf, Audi.
Thomas Neubauer, Benjamin Goethes Audi is on target to win silver. Again, if things stay as they are, this will become far more relevant in the second stint, because you'll have an order that looks like it's going to stabilise more towards the end. But right now, if things stay as they are, they're on to win the combined silver title.
I think the issue that teams are going to have to contend with is how quickly do they believe the racetrack will or will it dry out? Because if we go in, put on another set of wet weather tyres, and the track then begins to have a drying line, you will be on the wrong set of tyres. Because the ambient is reasonably high, the track temperature is reasonably high, I think there's every expectation we will have a dry line before this race is complete.
I think you're right, but is the gamble, as you suggest, worth taking on the pit stops? You don't want to be caught on the wrong set of tyres. So there, Fred Vervisch closing on Matthew Drudy for 11th place now. And Drudy goes a little bit deep into the corner. Vervisch gets his nose up the inside, but couldn't get the drive off the corner. So it remains Drudy ahead in the car collection run. Audi for WRT, Fred Vervisch right up behind him.
And look at the gaps between Vervisch and Drudy over those last two laps, particularly. Took 1.3 seconds out of lap 8, just under half a second on lap 9. So he has found grip and pace, but of course, finding that grip and pace, what's it going to give you? Catch the car, but where can you overtake Matteo Drudy? Options are very few and far between. People more and more going onto the left-hand side of the straight to try and keep those wet weather tyres as, let's say, in control heat-wise as they possibly can.
Yeah, it's not to defend necessarily, it's not to try and gain a place, it's to look after the rubber, certainly as far as the pit stop window is concerned. Now, if you are Raffaele Marciello, if you are Fred Vervisch, you're going to come in towards the end of the window because you are quicker than your co-driver, and most of the teams, I think, now will push the cars as far through the pit window as they can to try to get a better handle on what the track conditions are going to be like, and therefore what tyres to put onto the car.
Very much so, and in the case of the lead Mercedes, it's a no-brainer. Keep Marciello out. We know that Timur Boguslavski can do a very good job, as we've seen throughout the year. When he's handed a car that's in the lead with a reasonably comfortable advantage, he will do what it takes to bring that car home. It's where he has to do the qualifying and maybe doesn't find the kind of performance or level of self-belief sometimes to push the car. That's where they've been hurt. Certainly that's what happened yesterday.
So there is the car in second place, Patrick Niederhauser. He shares this with Aurelian Panis. And Panis might be a driver that loses ground in the second stint, depending on who he comes into a battle with, because Niederhauser is the quicker of the two, as evinced by his pace in qualifying. He's got Dries Vanthoor behind him as Patrick Niederhauser. This is Dries Vanthoor's view, and again he closes up as they sweep through turn 13 over the brow for this sharp Adrian Campos corner at the end of the lap. But Raffaele Marciello is out of sight, isn't he, up the road? Through he goes again. That now puts 11 laps in the book, and we wait and we wait and we wait for Niederhauser to come through to now get a handle on what the gap is, and it's 9.4 seconds. Niederhauser, as the road dries, under attack from Vanthoor.
Well, Vanthoor, I think he's used all his options. There's nothing much more he can do. Patrick Niederhauser both got the pace and strategically knows where to place his car. He's trying to outthink what Dries Vanthoor might try to do. And it's a bit like playing scissors, hammer, or whatever the third one is. What are you going to choose? What's your competitor going to do?
So there, Raffaele Marciello is up at turn 6. Look at the lead he has pulled, which suggests perhaps that Patrick Niederhauser is holding up Dries Vanthoor a little. And look at the line behind him, because Sheargard is being caught by Engelhardt and taking Dennis Marshall with him. So second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all in a queue. Patrick Niederhauser at the head of it. Now again, what have teams done? We talk about tyres, but in terms of a setup, some may have gone for a wet setup, some have gone possibly for a setup that is better for the sort of intermediate, in-between conditions, and Vervisch is in a fight here.
Yeah, there's a bit of activity. You can see the Porsche just to the right, but Vervish, can he squeeze? He has. He's managed to get through. So that was just big. Well, decided I'm there and I'm not going to move, and the Porsche was on the outside coming into a tight or a tightish. Somebody's gone off actually in turn 8. One of the, I think it might be one of the Audis actually ran wide in turn 8. Just this group of cars following.
Yeah, it's the Gulf Audi, in fact. It was the silver leading car in the combined championship. The endurance winners, Thomas Neubauer, Benjamin Goethe's car. Benjamin Goethe at the wheel that has run wide. We can just see in the distance from where we are. But you are on board right now with Frederic Vervish. Then he's still on the attack. Swoops now towards the completion of lap 12. Race leader goes through. There's Vervish then right on the back of Mattia Drudi. Comes off the corner. Pulls the trigger now, launches the car down the pit straight. Another 2.5 minutes or so, and you can anticipate the pit window to be open on that part of the circuit. Spray hangs in the air. This was the replay then. Drudi is ahead of Vervish. Backler is ahead of both of them. And as they go up towards turn 6, oof, that was Drudi getting into the back of Backler. No wonder he went out wide. That was quite a hit.
That was a good hit in there. I mean, under these circumstances, well, no damage, to, severe damage, but certainly Backler will have been unsettled by something he didn't anticipate.
So Klaus Backler fell down to 12th place as a consequence of that. Christopher Mies now is 9th. Now on that lap, it looks like Vanthor dropped away a little bit from Niederhauser. The margin between them was 1 second when they came across the line. Go back to my earlier point. Are there some cars that are set up for full wet and others that are set up for these greasy intermediate conditions and hence are starting to work as the road comes to them?
Well, my feeling is that the teams that are looking at what the weather forecast is it going to rain again? If it's not raining again, don't go full wet setup. You might make some small compromises, but don't commit yourself to either a full wet or a full dry. Just take that middle path.
So the Audi sings its way down towards the next right-hander, going through turn 12. Look back from Dries Van Voort. That is Nikolai Kiergaard behind him. Nikolai shares with Manuel Maldonado in the Garage 59 McLaren. We are 1 minute away from the pit window opening. The sky's still looking pretty leaden above there, don't they, as they turn towards the completion of lap 13. But Raffaele Marciello checked out. I mean, he is gone. Patrick Niederhauser in second place goes across the timing line, and it's 11 seconds between the top two.
Who's going to be the first car in?
It's a good question.
Well, I think it'll be the 53 Ferrari.
Okay, to put
because it's so
power
far down in its position. So you put Ulysses de Power back in the car, that might reignite that car's potential to get maybe up to certainly into the top 10.
Also gets it out of the traffic, doesn't it? As Pierre-Alexandre Jean is now up into 16th place. Thomas Drouet having dropped back on that lap, and Benjamin Goethe after his rally crossing having dropped back 2 laps ago. There, Dennis Marshall still on the tail of the Porsche. Christian Engelhardt closing right up there as they went towards turn 5 once again. So the battles rage, and again it is Engelhardt pushing on. Pit window is now open, but in the majority of cases you've got the quicker driver, so for one thing you'd want them to stay out for as long as, and also people want the cars to stay out for as long as they can so they can get a handle on what to do for tyres. Is it slicks weather yet?
No, it's not. It's a question of, well, you're going to have to put on another set of wets because the track conditions are so much in favour of wet weather tyre. But the question, up the inside, Marshall, can he slide through? Well, a little bit of a hip and shoulder, and he gets the job done. So he'll be happy with that. That was a position change, 6th to 5th.
He's worked hard for that as Raffaele Marciello comes through. I think I'm right in saying that Fred Vervish has just gained a place as well, looking at sector times. So there you've got down towards turn 14, Patrick Niederhauser, finally clearing away from Dries Van Voort. He stays out for another lap, Niederhauser, so does Van Voort, then it's Kiergaard, then it's Marshall in his newly won 5th place. 6th is Klaus Backler. Let's see if anybody does dive for the pit lane this time. 7th is Dean McDonald. 8th on his tail is Hauser, who does come in. That's a surprise, maybe. Christopher Hauser in first of all to give way to Simon Gachet.
So that's maybe one of the less likely ones. There's the Ferraris are coming in. No, it stays out. It's one of the 2 JP Motorsport McLarens likewise comes in as well. So it is Christopher Hauser, and that's well, the car makes its way down the pit lane.
Yeah, and the McLaren is Vincent Abril to give way to Dennis Lind. Right, so sit back and enjoy. Dennis Lind on a damp circuit, fantastic.
Monza, what, 4 or 5 years ago in the rain, absolutely stellar.
And those McLarens, I know we've talked about this earlier on in the year, but it's worth making the point again that the JP Motorsport cars do have, I think it's 3 engineers from those FFF Racing Team Lamborghini days. So whatever they did to make Dennis's car work in the conditions that Monza afternoon, they hopefully will do to his McLaren here. Another set of wets going on, interestingly.
Yes, it's just the conditions are not suitable for dries. And even if the track does go towards a drying line, which I thought might have done a bit quicker, the moisture, the general sort of wetness has gone. It's now that sort of scummy in between is too difficult for dries, but not really allowing the wet to do the job. But there's Dennis Marshall looking to make another move. He's almost in the back of Shergard and the McLaren coming through turn 9 and 10. And then up through 11 and 12.
But Vanthor's pace has suddenly dropped off, hasn't it? Because having spent much of the early part of the race chasing and shadowing Niederhauser, now the margin is very nearly 2 seconds between them, and that's opened up in 2 laps as Niederhauser rattles it wide over the curb. Vanthor stays out. Shergard is behind him in 4th place. Dennis Marshall looking good in 5th. 6th falling back a little bit is Backler. That's Christopher Mees 7th. 8th behind him, Dean McDonald. And then the next car through is Mathieu Drudy. Then you've got Klaus Backler, and Fred Verviche comes in to give way to Valentino Rossi.
I think Verviche certainly drove as well as he could do in these difficult conditions, and certainly overtook very well as well. So now it's time for Valentino. There he is standing waiting for the car to come to a standstill. So pull out the various connections, but don't undo your seatbelt until you come to a standstill.
But do turn off the engine as soon as you can, unlike yesterday when Fred had to lean in and turn it off, but it was too late. The penalty was awarded for it. So the car stops, you turn off the engine and then you get out. Race leaders currently are on lap number 16 and Valentino Rossi. Well, this is going to be a real test for Vale. This is perhaps where his 2-wheeled balance comes into play, because as John has been making the point, this surface now is neither wet nor dry.
Yeah, it's just never a pleasant circumstance to have to race in. So everybody has the same issues. Maybe just looking at the 2 Audis in 2nd and 3rd place, the direction of whether they go full soft or medium or whatever, maybe WRT have chosen a setup maybe more biased towards what they would anticipate will be a dry end. And Raffaele Marcello, look at the speed he's carrying.
Puts a lap on Eddie Cheever, who's just taken over the Sky Tempesta Mercedes. Dennis Marshall is on the attack, looking for a way past Nikolai Shergard. Rather cheekily there, trying his luck going into turn 12. That didn't work, but right now he looks as though his Audi is going better in these in-between conditions than it did in the full wet, and he really is taking the battle to those ahead. The car that's fading is Vanthor. He lost another 4 tenths to Niederhauser last time. So Raffaele Marciello is lapping in the 1 minute 45, the only man so to do. Niederhauser goes through lapping as a 46.2, and perversely that time around Vanthor actually a little bit quicker than Niederhauser. Ups his pace slightly to try to bring the gap down again.
I mean, all I can put it down to is just the choice of setup that both teams have opted to go with their cars under normal circumstances. There's nobody more combative than Dries van Thor in an Audi, but he's not able to challenge Paddock Niederhauser. But look, Dennis Marshall has got down the inside, but can he sweep? No, he can't. Had to slow down a lot, partly to make the corner, but more to avoid running in to the McLaren. And well, the intent is there, and he's got the pace, just waiting for the opportunity.
It's a committed move by Dennis Marshall. Nikolai Shergard's line, a very different one, and they oh so nearly met in the middle, as you saw. So now the Audi on the attack again as they head to turn 8. Start to drop down the hill at this point, and Dennis Marshall closes up under braking. Again, deep into the corner goes Shergard, looking for a bit of grip. Move across for the clipping point, short straight, then into this S that loops you round to the turn 11 hairpin. And drivers are getting ready. Manuel Maldonado ready to take over number 159. Miguel Ramos 188, and Marshall again up the inside, and again the door is slammed in his face.
And he had to get out of the throttle big time. He almost came to a standstill to avoid that contact. So immediately coming into turns 11 and 12, he's back onto the tail of the McLaren, and if he gets a good drive out, but you can see just where the McLaren, because it's accelerating that a little bit earlier, pulls away, and Marshall is again frustrated, just waiting for the opportunity. So what can he do coming out of the final turn? The McLaren's got the benefit of good straight line speed, and you can see just how much it's pulling ahead of the Audi based on nothing more than top straight line speed.
Race leaders go through 13.5 seconds now. So Timur Boguslavski is being given the absolutely ideal gift by Raffaele Marciello of a monster lead. That last lap for the Mercedes was a 1:45.6. Another 4/10 pulled out over Niederhauser. That Mercedes reveling in these conditions as into the pit lane comes Dean McDonald. And on that lap, Niederhauser quicker than Vanthor, so the gap back up to 2 seconds. Miguel Ramos ready to take over from Dean McDonald, who has that rather unfortunate short code on the Lumi rank display of MAD. He can't have Mac, because Louis Mackiels has that, so he gets the MA for McDonald and the D of his Dean, and MAD it's abbreviated to, so he will now give way to Ram. To Miguel Ramos, as you look at Klaus Bachler, at Christian Engelhardt, number 54 Porsche, still pushing on, and he's down in 6th place now. Christopher Mies has pitted, by the way.
So in the meantime, Dennis Marshall still pursuing Shelgard.
And off he goes. Wide goes
easy overtake. Just somebody overdrove into turn 8, and there you are. A gift horse. Never look it twice in the mouth.
Indeed so. So Dennis Marshall applying the pressure. It works for him, and that tiny little slip by Nikolai Siergaard, off the road he goes. Thankfully, stays in the race. Only lost 1 place, but now he's going to have to be on the attack to try and make that up again.
So down the hill, and there is our race leader at the top of the hill, making his way again, staying on the left side of the circuit to try and get as much cooling from whatever moisture is lying there. Comes across start-finish line, where is second place Patrick Niederhauser. Well, he is still yet to come across start-finish line. He's in the pit lane, so Niederhauser has come in now. The 32 Audi picks up that second place. Can he now do any more now that he's seen Niederhauser come in and he's got clear air himself?
So Niederhauser in, Siergaard in, Engelhardt in, and that means Marciello, Vanthor, Marshall becomes the slightly phony top 3 for the moment, but the pit stop cycle through. Remember, in the pro class, the overall class as it were, the pit stop is a natural one. It's as quick as you can do it, whereas if you're in Pro-Am, then it's 61 seconds. That is Simon Gachet in the best placed car of those that have made a pit stop, 18th overall at the moment, but that's going to be better come the end of the next lap. 14th already, in fact, around the lap. So 18th at the start of it, 14th now. And look at this. So many are diving in, others dive out. So pit lane, a very busy place. And here, Simon Gachet looking to try to buy back a whole load of places. That car given to him early in the stint, getting out of the traffic.
1 minute remaining for the pit lane to be open. So the race leaders ought to be coming in at the end of this lap as well.
Yeah, indeed so. So we'll see who's gained on what, as there. Back into the race goes the Porsche. Now, does that bring Engelhardt ahead of Aurelien Panis? Looks like it does. There behind them, look, is Simon Gachet. So Gachet has gained on the pit stops, and he's all over the back of Aurelien Panis. Then in the Santon-Lock Audi, dives up towards turn 3. Gachet, remember, is into a stint. He knows what the track conditions are like. Panis does not. And Gachet tries to get the drop on him coming into turn 3. Doesn't work. Leader is in with 27 seconds, 26, 25, 24 seconds of the window to go.
So timed to perfection. Done a great job, 16.5 seconds advantage. So look at this battle. So Gachet having to come to terms with these conditions. And Aurelien Panis, well, he's the one, sorry, coming to terms with the conditions. On board with Dries Van Voor, likewise, comes in with, what, 7 seconds of the session before the window closes.
That was marginal, wasn't it? That was very, very tightly timed. And Dennis Marshall behind as well. I hope he got in the nick of. So there is Valentino Rossi, who is struggling in these conditions. That does not look a quick car. Valentino not happy with something, and I think he's got a problem. This isn't just the conditions. That's not going... He was slow going past the pits, but there's a problem there.
The car looks like it's juddering or shuddering. It's just... you can see it.
Yeah.
There's something between the throttle pedal and the motor that's not functioning.
There is Timur Boguslavski then, who will rejoin with a healthy advantage. Charles Weerts gets away now. So down the pit road he goes.
Well, the Mercedes pit stop was a 49.2 second pit stop. What is it for the number 2 Audi?
Number 32 Audi, 46.9, so much quicker stop again from WRT. Car Collection did a good stop for Simon Gachet as well, because they turned number 11 round in 48.3 seconds, so they've also gained some time. Now there, look, is Adrian Delina, who is up into 4th place now, having taken over from Christian Engelhardt. Behind him is Gachet, behind him is Panis. But of course now we're going to see what the gaps are in real terms between Boguslavski in the leading car, Charles Weerts in 2nd place. Peter Schotthorst takes over from Dennis Marshall in number 66. and the race has 23.5 minutes still to go. There's Ulysse de Pauw in the white Ferrari coming towards us. At the end of this next lap, with all the stops cycled through, we can have a proper look at the order. 1-1-1 is Dennis Lind. And sorry, it's not Dennis Lind at all, it's Patrick Krupinski, who has taken over from Christian Kleen. The sister car of Dennis Lind is in 13th place, and that's in 18th place, number 1-1-1.
Ulysse de Pauw is trying to find a way around. The McLaren sticks his nose, but again, it's just all a little bit frenetic as we got the 93, and up the inside goes Chris Frogger, a clean and easy pass on the Ferrari, unexpectedly so.
So Miguel Ramos here in the McLaren, losing out to Christian Kleen. That means we had a change of lead in the class. Patrick Krupinski rather in Christian Kleen's car. So Krupinski now leads in Pro-Am. 99 is the Alex Arca Nicholas Scherl Audi. Valentino Rossi is back into the pit lane. You're on board here with the now Eddie Cheever driven Mercedes. That, remember, is a Silver Cup car. He's on the back of the Pro-Am McLaren of Krupinski. And is that the end of Valentino Rossi's race? I rather fear it is, sadly.
Yeah, the car's going back in the garage. Whether they can affect any quick repair, but with, what, 22 minutes remaining, I think the car's not going to be seen out of the garage later this afternoon.
So here, 15th and 16th, the battle is on. And at the head of the queue, the McLaren. So the Pro-Am battle trading back and forth. Number 25, Aurélien Panis there, keeping Simon Gachet at bay. This is for 4th place. And 66, Dennis Marshall's car, now with Peter Schotthorst at the wheel of it. Their look has dropped back behind Adrian Delina. We understand that is on slicks. So number 66 Audi, we're being told, is on slick tyres. So it is struggling to get the temperature into the rubber. The road is not dry enough. And look, you can see the way here that 66 Peter Schotthorst is dropping down the order because the grip is just not there.
No, I mean, the track conditions are, you can see how much they're improving, but even catching the curb, the back end snaps. So that was a big call on the part of Santa Blanc Racing to do that, to make that change. So as it roll the dice, you could win it or you could lose it. You can see just how far wide he runs coming through turn 5.
So that gives a place there on the road to Ulysse de Pauw, and a dive there up the inside. Charles Witt loses out because through on the inside line goes Simon Gachet. Now he's 32 on slicks as well. Have WRT gambled for Charles Witt and put him onto slick tyres. It looks as though that's another car struggling for traction.
Yeah, that was, again, that's a big gamble, man. They've won the championship. They can afford to take a risk because it's not going to have any effect on the overall championship positions. But it's a big ask for Charles Witt to keep the car pointing in a straight line and at the same time try to defend.
So that means Boguslavski will lead the race, and Simon Gachet, who took over early from Christopher Haase, is going to be in 2nd position. Over the timing line has gone Boguslavski. He is 25 seconds ahead. In fact, still 2nd is Aurélien Panis, but he's on borrowed time because he's got Gachet bearing down on him. So 25 seconds is the lead margin. Witz is 4th. Delina there is 5th. In 6th place, it's Manuel Maldonado. Down to 7th is Peter Schotthorst as Delina looks to the inside line. He gets up alongside Charles Witt. And this is down to pure grit coming out of the corner. Thank you, says Adrian Delina. He goes ahead of the new champion, picks up the place.
Yeah, I mean, very straightforward and easy overtake. So that's the difference between wet tyres and slick tyres. So let's watch and see.
Yeah, well, they are. Slick tyres going on in the replay in the pit stop.
And Dries van Voor having a look at those tyres as well to think, oh, really? Are they putting them on slicks?
Rather hit than me.
I wonder what the conversation was when Dries van Voor was coming in. Did he say, I think it's worth the risk? Because a lot of this information is purely coming from a driver, not what the team only sees in a stopwatch.
Yeah, you're right. It would be fascinating to know who had the biggest input into that call. Now, in the sectors, Aurélien Panis is catching Timur Boguslavski. Last time around, Panis in 2nd place was quicker. And don't forget, he's taking Gachet with him. So 1, 2, and 3 are concertinaing. The Pro-Am lead, I think we saw it happen with the onboard. It had changed back again. Miguel Ramos has retaken Patrick Krupinski. So Pro-Am continues to battle on as there. Lower down the order is the fight between Ramos and number 12, Luca Giotto. Just a bit further up the road is the JP Motorsport McLaren. So this Pro-Am fight, the lead trading all the time. The advantage on this lap goes back the way of Krupinski. Deep into the corner goes Luca Giotto. Back up the inside goes Miguel Ramos. But that's not his battle. It's the McLaren just up the road, out of shot, that he's fighting in a spinning Porsche.
Coming out of the straight.
That's Delina. Adrian Delina has lost it. He was in 4th place. He's not anymore. He's getting the car going again. But Adrian Delina has had a lose coming onto the pit straight.
So he's got it going in a straight line. But here's the 32. And the McLaren down the inside, so is Charles Fair's beginning to feel there's a little bit of hope and chance remaining? What, 18.5 minutes to go?
Well, it's another place loss. I mean, he sort of lost one to the McLaren, gained one from a spinning Porsche. Vincent Voss strides back into the garage as if to say, right, whose idea was slicks then? Somebody's got to answer for it. Aurélien Panis has done the fastest lap of the race. Now, the lead gap was 25 seconds. It's down to 22, and Panis has just done another absolute best in the first sector, and Gachet is falling away from him. So now, Santilok, that won the most recent endurance race, is hunting down to try to win the most recent, and indeed the final of the year, sprint race by closing on the leading Mercedes.
And when Panis rejoined, we thought that Simon Gachet was going to be all over him and around him. And that's not the case now, as Panis is the car that's doing all the charging. 22 seconds, a gap, 17 minutes remaining. It's very doable if Panis can maintain the pace that he's running at right now.
It would be another feather in the cap of Santilok, wouldn't it, to say to Audi, hello, remember us? They're deep into the corner, Casper Stevenson, and that means that closing on him is the Porsche. So that's Timur Boguslavski. This is the lead gap. So here he comes over the timing line, looking for the wet part of the road to keep the tyres cool, to look after them, to get them to the end of the race. That last lap was a 1:47.8. Now, where is Aurélien Panis? He's looking to come up towards the timing line now. Last time around, he was 22 seconds back. And this time, Aurélien Panis is 19 seconds back. 3 seconds a lap is the gain.
Well, I would have to suggest that did Panis go onto a set of slick tyres? You don't take 3 seconds out on a car. If both are on wet weather tyres, that's not going to happen. So I don't know whether Santilok have thrown a set of slicks. If they have, they're potentially standing in the winner's podium.
Well, if it's slicks, he's making them work better than anybody else, because everybody else on slicks has dropped away. Panis is the quickest man on the racetrack. He's done another fastest lap last time around, a 44.8.
But I mean, if he's doing these laps and everybody around him is doing 46s and 47s, as great a guy and driver as Panis is, I have to think there's something additional that's giving him the pace that he's got right now. Yeah. And if you look around the racetrack, suddenly it looks as if it is drying. There's bits up into exit 1 into turn 2. I would say it is probably sufficiently dry to know that you've got an advantage. Coming into turn 8 again on the line, the track looks like it's drying out quickly. It's only on the extreme edges where it's damped through 8 and 9 and 10.
Panis has taken 1.2 seconds out of the lead in the first sector alone. Now, in fairness, without wanting to be unkind about this, we know that Boguslavski is not much yellow pace. Maybe Timur Boguslavski is just being ultra cautious. Maybe that's why his lap times are going up. But I'll grant you, that doesn't explain why Panis is going purple, 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 sector, sector, sector.
I mean, he is running, on average, 2.5 to 3 seconds quicker than anybody else in the field. If he's on a set of wet weather tyres, I would love to know what that guy is doing racing. I mean, that is just sensational. So we'll not know until we get to the end of this race whether he will. If he started on wets, I bet you a penny to a pound there'll be slicks by the time he finishes.
Does this take us back to the car setup point? Some cars may be set up for a wet track, his for a dry track. Well, over the line, last time it was 19 seconds, it's down to 16 and a half, another 3 seconds or so pulled back by Aurélien Panis. Only one purple sector on that lap as Gachet is third. Here is Manuel Maldonado fourth, leading silver. We haven't actually mentioned who's second in silver, but the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes is hanging on to the place, Ezequiel Perez Companc. And then third of the silvers now, the very talented British driver Casper Stevenson. Right there is running fifth, the Mad Panda Mercedes. That has got past Charles Weir, so another place lost for Charles on his slick tyres.
I mean, the slicks on the 32 Audi clearly not working. Whatever is on the 25 Audi is working a dream.
Absolutely.
And 16.5 seconds, the gap between second and first place.
Panis has just taken 2 seconds in one sector alone out of Boguslavski.
I mean, okay, you can say car setup, but going from a full dry setup to a wet setup in one sector isn't 2.5 seconds.
No,
to me. So I don't know what tyres he's put on. Whatever he's doing, he's driving a race of his lifetime, if that's the case.
The team manager of number 12 and Matthew Drudy to go to the stewards. That is a legacy, remember, of the contact against Klaus Bachler's Porsche from turn 6. Quite a long time ago, but the stewards letting the teams get through the pit stops before they get hoiked up the stairs. Right, Boguslavski goes through. His last lap was a 1:47.5. He breaks the beam. The lap time is a 48.5. And there, look, is the Audi behind. So Panis, at certain parts of the racetrack, can see his prey. He comes up towards the line. The gap last time was 16 seconds. He goes for the cooler part of the racetrack. The gap this time is 12.9 seconds between the top two.
I mean, unbelievable. And I've got a chance to watch the Mercedes, particularly coming out of turn one. I mean, Boguslawski has got not an awful lot of grip. He's doing what he's got. But this car is absolutely flying.
And of course, he wouldn't be going for the wet part of the road, were he, on slicks, because he'd be getting the slick tyres wetter and they'd lose the advantage. So he is on wets. He comes down towards now turn 4. So, as John rightly says, the drive of Aurelian Panis is like this, chasing after Boguslawski. 12.9 seconds the margin, and he has just taken another 1.2 seconds out in sector 1 alone.
Well, I don't know what to say, because Panis is doing something that nobody else in this race has been able to achieve, and that is run at a phenomenal pace and still not seemingly doing any damage to his tyres. We're being confirmed that it is a set of wet weather tyres that was put on the number 25 Audi, but since Aurelian Panis got behind the wheel, he has been absolutely sensational.
His father was a surprise winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. Could Aurelian Panis be a surprise winner, again in mixed conditions, of this final Fanatec GT Sprint Cup Europe round of the year? As you look at the leader, that's Timur Boguslawski. Now, he only has to win by 1,000th of a second as long as he wins, but he is being caught. So let's see. He lost over a second in the first sector. He has lost 9/10 in the second sector, and Boguslawski now, with 12 minutes to go, comes across the line. Look at the background. There's the Audi that's chasing him. The lap from Timur Boguslawski is a 1:47.5. He's upping his pace. He's getting a little bit quicker. The message is getting through to him. Push, push, push. There is Panis. The gap last time, 12.9. The gap, 10.2. New fastest lap of the race for Panis.
Yeah, I mean, 1:44.8. Again, just emphasizing the pace. I mean, the car looks a different car. He can sweep through turn 1. Not only does it look better than the rest of the field, but it looks quicker than the rest of the field. And it is quicker than the rest of the field.
So he comes out of turn 2. Now, speed building. And there you can see how the gaps have been coming down, how the lap times have been quicker by Panis over the last 3. And the last lap was the best of the race as the road dries. But of course, they're having to cope with a drying track on wet tyres. And it's not wet anymore. It's just greasy. It's slippery. It's the car slithering around. A 1:44.800 is the fastest lap. 1:30.9 was the pole time, so that shows you how the drivers are struggling. But look, Boguslawski having to fight the car because his wet tyres are giving up the struggle here. Don't forget, Marciello would have asked a lot out of them early on.
Yes, but I mean, Marciello, one set of tyres, Boguslawski, another set of tyres. So it's just the way the Mercedes appears. The Audi looks like it's got shed loads of grip, whereas the Mercedes looks like it's having to point it and balance it on the steering and on the throttle. But you would swear, looking at that the car is on a set of slicks, but it's been confirmed that it is on wet weather tyres. So what has Santa Lock done to this car? I don't believe it's purely going to a not wet setup. We'll maybe find out if they'll tell us the secret.
I just wonder, though, whether I saw a little bit more spray. The wiper is on already in Panis' car, but at that turn 13 element of the circuit, just a little bit of spray evident once again. Through goes Boguslawski. His last lap then, a 1:47.2. Aurelian Panis' lap time as he breaks the beam is a 1:45.0. The gap is 8 seconds. Remember, when we started talking about this, it was 25, then 22, then 19, then 16, then 12.9, then 10.2. It's now 8 seconds.
Well, Boguslawski is being hunted down ruthlessly by Aurelian Panis. So 9 minutes and 45 seconds remaining. And he's just knocked the wiper. I can't believe there's enough moisture hanging around that he needs to use the wiper. Sometimes the driver accidentally hits it with his hand when he's making a move in the cockpit and then forgets that it's the wiper. You're not looking at the wiper. You don't see the wiper operating. Your eyesight is way, way down the racetrack.
And the team are probably quite happy to leave him to it without communicating anything. Now, we've just had a fastest lap of the race done by Charles Weerts. So does that tell you that the road is dry enough for the slicks to work? Well, he's half a minute back. So Charles Weerts can now think about gaining places again. The road has got to that tipping point. It's now for the slick shod cars. Charles Weerts, having been losing places, is back in the hunt, certainly in terms of lap time, because he is the quickest man on the racetrack. The lead gap is 8 seconds and just under 9 minutes to go.
Wow, it's getting very, very tense. Boguslawski, but he can do no more than he's doing. He's hanging in as every way he can. You can still see the spray coming from the back of the car, coming up into the final turn. So
there is the race leader and second placed car, started by Patrick Niederhauser. He's getting nervous. He stood with Gemma as well.
Patrick, obviously Aurelien looking extremely fast. Things seem to be switching now to being favouring the slicks perhaps, but an incredible drive.
Yeah, actually I can't really watch the TV. I'm quite nervous, to be honest. Looks like the slicks are finally getting up to work, but I knew it's going to be kind of a gamble. I was afraid that it will take too long for the slicks to work, which was probably the good decision also by the team done. So yeah, let's see now what Aurelien can do with the wets.
And any specific setup that you've made on the car, what is it that's making him so quick?
I don't really think it was something special with the setup. I think just the team nailed, first of all, the strategy, and secondly, the tire pressures, because obviously it seemed to work very well for us right now. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.
Charles Weert's last time around was 36 seconds back from the lead. He's now 32 seconds back from the lead. I'm not suggesting he's going to win the race, but I am trying to do is illustrate how much quicker the road is now for a slick-shod car. His fastest lap is a 1:42. Panis we're getting excited about. He's doing 44s, and Boguslawski 47s. Lead gap 5.6 seconds.
I mean, it's all changed, and here's the car that is the quickest car on the racetrack, albeit down in 6th position, 3.5 seconds behind the number 98 Mercedes Perez Compact. So he'll gobble that Mercedes up. Catching it, of course, will be very easy. Finding a way around it might not be if the Mercedes puts itself in the middle of the racetrack. The slick-shod Audi wants to be on. So what Weerts does not want to do is have to compromise and go on to a damp part of the racetrack to find a way around the 90 Mercedes.
The other hero is Jim Pla, 18th, number 88 Mercedes. Jim Pla, fastest lap of the race now, 1:42.6. So that's 2 seconds quicker than Aurelien Panis, who effectively is the best of those on the wet tyres. What about the race order? Well, 4th is Maldonado, 5th Compact, their 6th is Charles Weerts. And he should be 1 place higher than that by the end of the lap. Look, as he tries to make his move now up against Ezequiel Perez Compact in the Silver Cup Mercedes. Through on the inside goes the Audi. But again, Compact doing the right thing there. That's not his battle to have. So he lets the Audi go. This should be another fastest race lap by Charles Weerts when he breaks the beam. We wait for the time to come up. He goes through, and as he does go over the timing line now, Charles Weerts does a 1:41.577. The lead gap, though, is down to 3.3 seconds.
And that's on a wet shod Audi, not on the slick shod number 32. So the lap times for the last lap for Panis was a 1:44.4. The last lap for Boguslawski, 1:46.8. So 2.4 seconds in that one lap alone. And we've seen that lap upon lap that Panis has just taken. Well, there you can see on screen, 2.2, 2.4, 2.3 over the last 3 laps. And for Boguslawski, I mean, had a wonderful opportunity to win this race, but has just been mercilessly hunted down by Aurelien Panis. And you can see the way the Mercedes slides coming through these corners into 6, 7, and 8.
Well, there is Panis.
7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, sorry, John. Yes, there was Panis going into turn 11. Short straight. He runs it wide. Got to be careful on those painted curbs. But Aurelien Panis hustling on. Jim Pla going even quicker for the fastest lap now. He's still down in 18th place, is Jim, but he's done a 1:40.4. But here is Panis, just at a big slide from Boguslawski coming over the brow out of 13 to 14. The Mercedes is not happy in these conditions. Boguslawski struggling for traction. Last time around, the gap was 3.3. What are we going to have it at this time? Is it going to be under 2 seconds as a nervous, nail-biting Raffaele Marciello looks on? The gap between Mercedes and Audi at the end of lap 30 is 1.6 seconds on this lap. Panis could get the lead.
He's certainly got a catch. He's done all but caught to the back of the Mercedes down the hill. Well, back to up the hill, he moved over from left to right. So the Mercedes by the corner. Oh!
33 off into the gravel. The Audi rejoins then. That's Jean-Baptiste Simonard. That shows you how treacherous it still is. So Timur Boguslawski still leads the way, but we've got just under 4 minutes of the race to go, and there, peeking around the graphic, is the Audi. Aurelien Panis is almost with him. This is turn 6. I still reckon he might be ahead by the end of the lap.
I think it'll be difficult. He's got to go through turn. Well, again, now look, the way that Panis is now going from right over to the left, looking also for the moisture to keep those tyres. He's run them hard, all the way through his stint, taken chunks of time out of the Mercedes. but maybe he'll catch. But actually, will he be able to execute an overtake?
Let's see. He's going to have to go offline, as we've been making the point earlier, in order to do that pass, but he's taken 4/10 out in the first sector. He's got onto the back of the Mercedes. This is coming up towards the end of sector 2. Fastest lap of the race now, Ulysse de Pauw, 1:39.7. The Ferrari still way down in 20th place. So Aurélien Panis has got 2 corners to go on this lap. Is he going to be able to get through? This is turn 13. He's closing. The move might come down towards the turn 1, left-hander at the start of the next lap. 31 laps in the book, 3 minutes to go. We're going to get 2 more laps out of this race as a prediction. Over the line they go. Aurélien Panis does not lead by the end of the lap, but he is oh so close to the back. He's 0.3 of a second away as they dive down towards turn 1.
Yes, tries, had a look down the inside, but Boguslavski is using everything he's got. He's using the size, the physical size of the Mercedes to stop Panis getting through. So what I said a few minutes ago, catching is one thing. He ought to, with the pace he's got, to be able to find a way through out of turn 2. Now into that quick flick through 3. Will he dive down the inside into turn 4? No, he thinks better of, but he's going to wait. Next chance will come, maybe a short sprint up into turn 5, but likewise then that's up the hill into turn 6.
And Charles Weert's new fastest lap of 38, as now Aurélien Panis gets a bit of a squeeze to the outside line. Is there more grip round the outside? He's got to be careful not to get into contact here. Boguslavski hangs on to the race lead. Now these cars are losing 6, 7, 8 seconds a lap now to Charles Weert, who is only 14 seconds back. He's not going to get the lead in time, but he might be on the podium, as again, Panis here challenges right round the outside. He tries to go, coming off turn 8 into the S's now. It is when, not if, Panis gets the lead, because Boguslavski, yes, he's defending manfully, but he can't hang on for another 2 minutes, surely, with the Mercedes squirming around like this on the road. Panis to the outside, he's sideways. Does he get the drive off the corner? He gets up the curve. They're still nose to tail. Boguslavski may not be as quick, but boy, does he drive a wide car.
Well, he's doing everything he can to defend his lead, and what he's successfully managed to achieve up until now is to stem the pace that Panis has had. Now Panis is running at the lap time the Mercedes is, and that's taken away all the advantage he's enjoyed up until this point.
They're about to start the last lap, so Aurélien Panis now has 14 corners in which to get the race lead. The move might come again at the end of the pit straight, but this is where the Mercedes has the advantage. Through they go. Fastest lap of the race, Thomas Neubauer. The lead gap was 0.3 last time. It's 1/10 this time. Panis again looks to the inside. Boguslavski's Mercedes has a little slide heading down towards turn 1. Aurélien Panis has brought the gap from 25 seconds to about 25 millimeters up towards turn 2. Again, he closes right up, goes for the inside line. Is he going to be able to get off the corner ahead? He's oh so nearly sprinting up the inside. Charles Weerts is 5 seconds behind them in 3rd place. 5 seconds back is Weerts. He might get up there with them by the end of the lap.
Well, the pace he's running at, he will do, because this is being dictated to totally by Boguslavski, who's now hogging the inside into turn 5 to prevent Panis, to stop Panis getting his momentum. There you can see number 32 coming up. 32 is going to be in this race coming up to turn 14 and maybe across the start-finish line. Charles Weerts has got the advantage, the drive, the speed of turn 6 through turn 7 down into turn 8, and Charles Weerts is on course to take a victory, an unbelievable victory.
Nose to tail, Timur Boguslavski and Charles Weerts, who has come back from nowhere on these slick tyres. He gets up the inside, the door is closed, and Aurélien Panis is trying to fight back. Boguslavski still has to defend. Here comes Panis for a go on the inside. To the outside line goes Charles Weerts. It's all about grip coming off the corner. Boguslavski gives him room. Weerts goes round the outside and he leads. They're still side by side. Boguslavski fights back, but Charles Weerts has done it. Charles Weerts goes through. What a race. A delighted Vincent Voss sees Charles Weerts come back into the mix. Whoever it was that did call for the slicks is right after all. Down they turn to the last corner. Panis still can't get past Boguslavski, but Charles Weerts comes up towards the checkered flag. Boguslavski goes out wide. It's a drag race to the line. Panis finally gets ahead of him. Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor win. Second, it's a virtual dead heat as they come across the line. And second place confirmed as Aurélien Panis by 1/10 of a second. Timur Boguslavski is 3rd. We never saw that one coming as we watched 32 tumble down the order, but Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor win on a slippery Valencia circuit. Panis 2nd, Boguslavski 3rd, Gachet 4th, and there is Ezequiel Perez-Companc, who wins in silver. He got ahead of Manuel Maldonado at the end of what turned out to be an extraordinary race.
Well, Angus, nuts all the way through, and what the WRT team did, they rolled the dice, they took a gamble, they had nothing to lose, they'd won the championship, but what happened in those closing laps, the pace of the slick tyre, vis-a-vis the reduced pace of Aurelian Panis because he got trapped behind Boguslawski. Boguslawski doing all he could to defend his position, did it fairly and cleanly, and that gave Verts the opportunity. Coming 5 seconds a lap quicker, he just gobbled up those two cars in the space of 1 lap. And Dries van Thor shakes his head in disbelief, and the joy in the I haven't seen joy in WRT's pits like this all this year. They won the championship yesterday, and today they seem even more elated than yesterday.
Just to put this in context, we were looking at Panis and Boguslawski battling. That last lap by Charles Weerts, on which he overtook 2 cars, was 7 seconds faster. So this was Charles Weerts coming up to the line. Look for second place, though. This is the drag race. Panis finally gets past Boguslawski, but it only keeps him second after all, which is where he was at the start of the lap. He got there by a 10th. The fastest lap, by the way, set in the end by Jim Plower on the last lap, 1:37.9. So that's 10 seconds quicker than Panis and Boguslawski.
I mean, your slick tires, so your wet tires probably had turned into slicks, and there's no grip because there's no rubber. There's just literally a bit of black stuff, and that's what you call rubber. This car on slicks, suddenly it came alive, and wow, did it. I mean, what a phenomenal finish. What a sensational drive. And, I mean, well, joy all around with Audi.
I still want to know who at WRT, as there Charles Weerts celebrates with donuts, I want to know who at WRT made the call, because if it's one of the engineers, they're on for a pay rise.
Oh, no, that was an engineer's call, but it had to be made in conjunction, in my view, with Dries van Thor. But I tell you what, it got so close to the line. I mean, within half a lap, it didn't look like it was going to happen. In the last half of the lap, all of a sudden, victory is theirs.
Might have to sit down in a moment. Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor winning in the end by 1.9 seconds. So not only did they catch, not only did they pass, but they pulled away, or Charles Weerts pulled away to win by 1.9 seconds. And our Sprint Cup champions round out the year with another victory. That's a 4th sprint win. I mean, what better way to round out a season with a win, and a win like that in a race like that?
I tell you, the only way you can beat it is to have more races where track conditions change. You produce unpredictability, and there you go. Look at Van Thor, absolutely delighted. Now, unpredictable races always are the most exciting to watch, and that was about as exciting as one. I think we've certainly, this year, that's going to be, for me, the highlight of our season of sprint races.
Absolutely, no question. Those track conditions have certainly given us an amazing race, and 3rd place to Raffaele Marciello provisionally is enough for him to be the combined champion. We've still got the endurance title to be wrapped up, but in terms of the combined situation with the endurance rivals not doing sprint, Raffaele Marciello cannot be caught, we understand, in the combined situation. So delight at WRT. Charles Weerts, I mean, again, he deserves a lot of credit for his stint, because it could have gone so wrong, couldn't it? Pushing as best he could, slicks on a wet road. You know, he could have dropped it, he could have been in the gravel. We saw other Audis spinning off, but Charles Weerts, in adversity to begin with, drove, you could argue, the stint of his life.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to believe that, you know, Charles Weerts had to believe at some point before the checkered flag fell that the track was going down. Thomas Boguslawski, I mean, I think he did an excellent job at defending that lead, and he was being run down mercilessly by originally Aurelian Panis, who also was on a setup with the tires, and that will be maybe the bigger disappointment. What happened with Charles Weerts was that he was on a set of slicks. He had a massive advantage over the 2 cars ahead of him.
Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor win an outstanding race, and we'll hear from them in a moment, because once they've stopped hugging each other, they can talk to Gemma.
Charles, Dries, congratulations. Charles, come to you first of all. That was an incredible drive. Well, whilst Charles is celebrating, Dries, whose call was it to go onto slicks there?
To be really honest, it was not really mine either. It was actually my engineers. We have 2 great engineers. I mean, we've got a lot of good engineers in the team, but it was Wim and Charles who made the call. I personally, I knew it was going to be close, but because we have our engine in the rear, we never get the fronts to work, so that's what I actually thought. But yeah, I mean, what a great decision. It really came down to the last lap. I was in the beginning doubting, but at the end I should maybe, you know, next time, I mean, I trust them like day and night, but next time I just go blindly. But yeah, what a great race, honestly.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, Charles, Vincent, you came out of nowhere. We were all keeping our eyes on first and second, and all of a sudden you've peeled them all off.
Yeah, I mean, as we said at some point in the race, I was also doubting about the strategy, but as we say, we always learn, and this race I learned that I can always count on my team to provide us the best strategy and the best car. So extremely happy. So a big thank you again to the team, to Audi, to Dries, and to the whole crew. It's just an amazing way to finish off this great season.
It really is. I mean, Vincent, the smile is evident.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes some victory feels different, and this one is an amazing one. You know, it's not always easy to take the right call, and we were P3 and we need to do something, we need to try.
We saw you walk into the garage from the pit wall partway through the race after the call had been made. At that point, were you doubting it?
No, that's, I know it will happen.
Congratulations, well done.
He didn't look that confident at the time, Gemma, did he? So Vincent Vos now takes it all in his stride, but what a race. And yes, I mean, we were understandably looking at Aurélien Panis and we were watching Charles Wirtz drop and drop and drop. But then I mentioned that tipping point where suddenly he did the fastest lap. The road came to the slick-shod cars. And Jim Pla even quicker than Charles Wirtz, let's not forget.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Jim Pla, he was caught in the back end of the field. But again, position is such an important thing. The job that Dries van Voor did in his stint helped that 32 Audi have an opportunity, albeit that it did drop back, but the speed on the slicks got it done.
So, Raffaele Marciello, third in the race and our combined drivers champion. Let's hear from him.
Raffaele, I can tell you have a reason to smile. That's put you combined champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to win the championship, but for sure I'm not so happy about today's race, you know, to have such a big gap and then to lose the race. For sure I'm happy for overall. I mean, I will celebrate more for sure in Barcelona for the overall championship, but now, I mean, I'm not so happy for sure.
Well, it was a tough call to make, really, to go from slicks to wets. You know, that decision was with the team, I guess. Timo, you had a tough time. I mean, you had Aurélien Panis all over the back of you for those last few laps.
Yeah, I was just have a huge understeer, so it was my limit. And that's it. You saw it on the TV. And they was coming really fast, so I was not able to do anything.
Well, a great drive from both of you anyhow. Well done.
Two very disappointed drivers and not looking like the most harmonious of combinations. That we did talk about the understeer that Timo Boguslavski looked to be having as the road dried and the circuit became greasy more than pure wet.
Yeah, and you can see the car coming through that sequence of corners. There was no balance. There was no grip, first of all, and it was all about, you know, he says understeer. Well, you've just got to go slow enough to get the front to bite enough to turn the corner, and that means your pace is disappearing. So Boguslavski was sort of a victim of circumstances with the Mercedes.
Let's look at the race result. Charles Wirtz and Dries van Voor win. Well, that might, in a sense, from second on the grid, you might think, well, that was to be expected. It certainly doesn't tell you the whole story of what was a great second stint. Aurélien Panis and Patrick Niederhauser second, and Timo Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello's Mercedes led every lap apart from the last one. Simon Gachet and Christopher Hauser fourth. From a class-winning Ezequiel Perez-Companc and Fabian Schiller. Sixth, a really good effort by Manuel Maldonado and start driver Nikolai Schiergaard ahead of Vincent Abril and Dennis Lin, Tom Drouet and Casper Stevenson. Third in silver, eighth overall from Gilles Magnus and Nicholas Bart. And 10th in the top 10 after a pretty frustrating season, Eddie Cheever and Chris Froggatt. Peter Scotthorse and Dennis Marshall were on slicks. They dropped to 11th. Jim Pla, Tristan Vautier got up to 12th on slicks. Luca Giotto, Matteo Drudi 13th from Adrian Delina and Christian Engelhardt after a spin. And also we had a spin early on from Thomas Neubauer and Benjamin Goethe. They're 15th at Flagfall. 16th to 111. That's the Pro-Am winning car for the second time this weekend of Patrick Krapinski and Christian Kleen. Then Elise de Pau and Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Very different result today from yesterday ahead of Petru Umbrescu, Igor Walelko's Mercedes. 19th, Giorgio Roda and Klaus Bachler, Alex Arca and Nicholas Scherl in 20th. So there, the WRT mechanics celebrate the best pit stop of the weekend. And expect to see them congratulated again at the end of the season at SRO's awards, because traditionally WRT mechanics are dynamite on these pit stops, for which there is the competition to reward the engineers. So the drivers congregate, ready to be called forward for the podium ceremony. Stefan Rattel himself is there, and Timo Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello step forward, somewhat frustrated, but they take third place. And Raffaele understandably disappointed after building up a massive lead, but Timo Boguslavski unable to hang on to it. For second place, out come the oh-so-nearly winners, Aurelien Panis and Patrick Niederhauser. Aurelien you have to feel sorry for, because it looked as though he was going to take that victory. But in the end, Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts, after an outstanding second stint by Charles, come through for a fourth Sprint Cup win of the season. And they stand for WRT on the top step of the Valencia podium. So the trophies about to be presented as the drivers then put their Pirelli caps back on. The trophies given to Pablo Balanza, the Deputy Director of the Valencia circuit, and he will shake the hands of all the drivers and make the trophy presentations to Timo Boguslavski and to Raffaele Marciello for that third place. And Timo Boguslavski, to be fair to him, hung on as best he could. He was only half a lap away from winning that race.
I think had it not been for Charles Weerts coming through, I think he would have won the race. I think he would have managed to hold back Panis, because he was marginally compromised in the overtake that Weerts made to him into turn 14.
And there the team's trophy presented. Handshakes all round from Gonzalo Gobert, the circuit director here at this Ricardo Tormo circuit in Valencia. And so now the trophies to race winners Charles Weerts and to Dries van Thor. Dries wets on a wet road, Charles slicks on a wet but drying circuit, and a last lap win gives Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor a fourth Sprint Cup win and cements their championship success that they celebrated yesterday. And what you said earlier, John, absolutely right. They look more pleased about that race result than yesterday's title.
Absolutely. I think the essence of being a racing driver, while the title is the culmination of 5 events, but winning in these circumstances and coming through the field as Weerts did, and literally it was only at the final corner that he got the lead and the victory was theirs. I mean, thinking back to where the car was when it went out on slicks and difficult conditions, I mean, it's a fantasy dream.
Well, let's have a look at how we stand at the end of the year overall in Sprint Cup on point. Charles Weerts, Dries van Thor, the champions, ahead of Timo Boguslavski and Raffaele Marciello. Simon Gachet and Christopher Hauser a little distant in third, but ahead of Ulysse de Pauw and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, who we'll come back to because they win silver. Jim Pla fifth, Patrick Niederhauser and Aurelien Panis round out the top 6. So we will have our second podium in a moment. The silver drivers and the Pro-Am drivers recognised as well. And very good to see the Mad Panda team taking a victory after Ezequiel Perez Compact's huge commitment to SRO's GT racing over the last few seasons. They've also got a programme going on in the German Championship this year, but great to see Ezequiel Perez Compact rewarded with a Silver Cup win, along with Fabian Schiller. There is the Argentine driver in the black and white overalls. As out first come Tom Aldrue and Casper Stevenson. They were on the podium yesterday in the Silver Cup. They finished 8th overall and on the podium again today. Out also come Nikolai Schiergaard and Manuel Maldonado. And there are the winners, Fabian Schiller and the man behind Mad Panda Motorsport, Ezequiel Perez Compact. Again, it just illustrates the great leveler, the extra input that wet conditions can make as the Mad Panda Motorsport team celebrates a win in Spain. So for Ezequiel Perez Compact, for Mad Panda Motorsport, the national anthem of the winning team is played. It's been a up and down sort of a weekend for the Mad Panda Motorsport Mercedes. In the barriers yesterday, a winning car today.
An extra prize goes to them as well. I think they've got the best car graphics in the field.
Yes, I think you're probably right. And quite often when we have the esports races at the Endurance Cup rounds, you see Ezequiel appear with the huge Mad Panda head on. He still won't fess up as to where the name comes from, but it gives a certain flair to the paddock. So Steve Rouse of Pirelli hands over the trophies for the second placed drivers. There's the team's trophy for Mad Panda Motorsport from Gonzalo Gobert of the circuit. And there the handshake to Fabian Schiller, who's made a name for himself as another Mercedes gun for hire. Drop him into one of those Mercedes AMG GT3s and he goes well. And a delighted Ezequiel Perez Compact receives his trophy. And that Makes all the hard work of the weekend worthwhile, doesn't it? Great effort. And they won the class by 4.4 seconds in the end.
Yes, tonight indeed. And Argentina will be celebrating tonight as well.
Quite so. The awards from Pirelli go to the top 2 in the Silver Cup. More photographs taken. And then in a moment or two, the drivers will leave the podium and it'll be prepared for the Pro-Ams, the last podium ceremony of the Sprint Cup race weekend. For race results, we might have our champions back on the podium, because often that is the case, that there's a champions photo shoot on the podium. But for now, champagne is found. And are they going to spray or are they going to save? Get the feeling that Casper Stevenson is rather keen. Thomas Drouet starts the plan and sprays anybody he can find. But at the end of a weekend, at the end of a hard race like that, you can understand the drivers wanting to let down their hair. So Mercedes AMG from McLaren from Mercedes AMG, and Ezequiel Perez Companc, who we saw make a name for himself initially in Lamborghini. He's had that season at WRT, didn't get on with the car, had that big accident at Paul Ricard, which again affected him a little bit, but he's come back as this player manager and he's found his niche.
Yeah, and he's got a comfortable situation. He owns the car, he owns the team, and he's just now won the championship.
In silver, Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw, already champions crowned back in July at Misano, and there's confirmation of that success from Thomas Drouet and Casper Stevenson, Thomas Neubauer and Benjamin Goethe third, Nicolas Schurl, Alex Arca in fourth. And it's been a lean season for Mad Panda, which is why they don't feature within the top 10 as far as points are concerned. But the winning Ferrari drivers, outright winners yesterday, today 17th overall in the race. But well done to Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw. And so now we have the Pro-Am drivers ready to be called forward. For third in the class will be Hugo Delacour and Cedric Spreazioli. For second, you're going to have Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald, this year's Pro-Am champions. And the top step for the second time this weekend, and also, therefore, being for the pair of them a fourth win of the season, will be Patrick Krupinski and their Christian Klein. That's Patrick Krupinski. Out he steps. And the McLaren drivers for the top step of the podium. You can argue it's a little unfair for some of them, having to go up against a former Grand Prix driver, but that's where Pro in Pro-Am works. So Christian Klein, who, as I say, we've seen in Formula One, we've seen in the Peugeot manufacturer sports car program, and you could argue he's a Pro Plus really within that class, but got the job done for his co-driver.
Certainly did, but Christian Klein's days as a pro driver you're referring to, quite a long time ago now. He's been around for many, many years, and for a long time actually it seemingly vanished, but great to have him back and delivering for his team.
Absolutely right. So there, Miguel Ramos, the champion, along with Dean McDonald in Garage 59, the Andrew Cocody team, along with Alexander West and Chris Goodwin. They celebrate the victory. There you've got Hugo of the championship. You've got Hugo Delacour, Cedric Spreazioli at the far end of the podium. They're the trophies to the winners. And it's been really good to see different teams operating the McLarens. We've talked in the Endurance Cup about Jota with a car in the overall situation, but JP has got on with the job. They've done more races because they've done some sprint as well as endurance and a few German championship rounds, and learnt and got the car pretty nicely dialed in, actually.
I think they've been helped by two particular British engineers who were with the Orange 111 Lamborghini team, and they are suspension specialists, and that I think has made a significant contribution to that very rapid rise through the field of the JP Motorsport McLarens.
Because we've been hearing from McLaren teams and others, in fairness, all season about this new tyre and how it's a little bit tricky in some cars, trickier on some than others, and the McLarens, certainly by mid-season, we're still getting a handle on that, but it seems to have worked out better for some teams than others. Let's just look at the end-of-season points in Pro-Am. Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald are the champions from Patrick Krupinski and Christian Klein, and by the end of the season, they weren't that far behind. Andrea Bertolini and Louis Macchiel's third ahead of Cedric Spreazioli. Hugo Delacour, who did miss one event, and his replacement Stefano Costatini come next ahead of Ben Barker and Alex Malikin, who we only saw, sadly, at the very start of the season. So it has been a lively race, that is for sure. Go back to the race for a moment, and Aurélien Panis and Patrick Niederhauser came oh so close to a race win. They're with Gemma.
Aurélien, Patrick, congratulations. That was an incredible race. I'm going to come to you first, Aurélien. That was some drive you put in.
Yeah, it was a tough race. At the end, I'm happy with P2, but yeah, still a bit hard to accept when you are fighting for the victory until the last lap. But yeah, the car was mega, really fast on damp condition. Patrick had a mega start, so yeah, it's good to finish on a P2 for this championship.
Absolutely. I mean, the atmosphere in the garage was absolutely electric.
Yeah, it was really a roller coaster of emotions, actually. You know, we lost a bit in the pit stop, so I thought, like, that's not going to end so well for us. All of a sudden, Ore was completely in the fight for a podium. All of a sudden, I realized, oh, that could be a win, actually. So from that going and then realizing the slicks are actually going to work from Charles, I knew it's going to be a close one, but still, I don't really feel we lost the victory. I just feel that we won P2 today. It was a crazy race. So, yeah, really happy to finish the sprint season like this.
That sums it up perfectly. Well done to both of you in sterling drive.
Shows, doesn't it, how Aurélien Panis has stepped forward race after race after race as a driver. Also, credit yet again to Santalok, as they're the Pro-Am Drivers' Champions. Celebrate the Garage 59 crew. Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald are the Pro-Am Drivers' Champions this year. And the flares go off for them, but it's been a really good season for the two. Miguel Ramos, massively experienced driver of GT cars and touring cars, and 4 wins they've had in Pro-Am on the way to the Sprint Cup title.
Yeah, they could have had a win possibly in the Spa 24 Hours. There was an incident with the 93 Mercedes Sky Tempesta. They were very unhappy about that outcome. Nevertheless, they've had a great season, and Garage 59 should be very happy indeed with the progress they're making with the 720S GT3.
Absolutely right. Now let's just have another look at this last half lap of the race. This was the battle for the lead, but look how quickly Wirtz was catching. This was turn 6, and Charles Wirtz just gobbled up the real estate, made the move against Aurélien Panis. There was nothing Aurélien Panis could do because that car had the grip off the corner, dived up the inside line, and Charles Wirtz was through. Now this is turn 8, 14 corner long lap, but Charles Wirtz made his move against Boguslavski. It almost worked there, look, coming towards turn 9, didn't work, so Boguslavski led into 10. Panis, though, was still trying to fight back against Wirtz. Charles attacking and defending. He went to the outside line there, coming off the hairpin at turn 11, over the curb, but he got the drive off the corner. Boguslavski again tried to brave it out on the inside, but he just had to let him go, and into turn 12 on that last lap, race leader Charles Wirtz, and the WRT garage erupts.
Understandably so. I mean, a great drive indeed by all 3 drivers. They did an excellent job. 2 of them on wet weather tyres, having to fight the conditions. And you know, Aurélien Panis thought on this last lap, I can win this race. What hadn't appreciated was the pace that the 32 Audi behind had with the slick tyre, and just got the 2 cars got gobbled up in that middle sector really of the racetrack.
Shows, doesn't it, the reaction from Vincent Voss there as he saw the move, knew the car was going to win, that he's a racer at heart, just like everybody is in that garage. Vincent himself, Spa 24 Hours winner many years ago. Now, yes, of course, he's a businessman, a team owner, but he's a racer at heart, and you could see how much that race win meant as now the Silver Cup champions step forward for their ceremony. Pierre-Alexandre Jean and Ulysse de Pauw. In a way, it's a shame that today's result isn't as good as many have been this year, but they've had an outstanding season.
Again, it all goes down to qualifying, and the Ferrari did not qualify well this morning in the wet conditions. Oh, sorry, in those.
It was a gearbox problem, wasn't
it?
That did them.
So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the penalty if you don't get the good grid position. And of course, then in the wet weather circumstances that the race was in, making progress very difficult.
20-minute session this morning, some time lost getting the car back to the pits, then sorting out the gearbox problem, a lap loss for track limit offences, and you haven't got much time after that in 20 minutes to have a go. But the job was done back in early July in the Silver Cup, because they've been winning overall as well as winning in silver. And Ulysse de Pauw, who switched from car to car to car across different GT championships this year, and Pierre-Alexandre Jean, we've seen the pair of them in the past in a Bentley, but they made the decision to go to AF Corsa, the top Ferrari team for the season, and it's paid out in style. Pro-Am champions are Miguel Ramos and Dean McDonald. We've not heard from them yet, but we ought to, because they've had a mega season for Garage 59. Gemma's fan.
Miguel, Dean, you did it. The hard work paid off and the season is finished. You're champions.
Yeah, no, I'm happy, I'm buzzing. It's the first title I've won and I'm glad I could share it with Miguel. But yeah, the weekend has been a bit strange, let's say, but I'm glad to get the job done.
Absolutely. It's raining champagne up here, I think, Miguel.
Yeah, it's nice, it's good, better than water. No, I'm very glad. This is his first championship, so Baby Dean won his first championship. We call him Baby Dean, so I hope he wins much more championships in the future, because he's still very young, so I'm very happy.
It was a fantastic season for both of you, a great pairing. Will you continue together next season?
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Miguel Ramos has won many a title in the past, whether it's been with SRO, whether it's been in other GT or touring car championships, Spanish GT champion of years past, and Spanish touring car racer as well. But top job, Elise de Pauw celebrating as well, as there are the overall Sprint Cup champions making their way onto the podium. And Charles Weerts, Dries van Thor, and it feels like half of Belgium as all the WRT engineers and their British engineers as well. There are Brits in the Brains Trust all step forward to take in the celebrations, because the 2022 Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup champions are Dries van Thor and Charles Weerts. A fantastic season it has been for WRT. And if this is, as we are being told, of course, the end of the association with Audi, they go out, certainly in sprint racing, in style. They could yet win another race, of course, before the end of the season. But the drivers there on the podium, champagne is about to be sprayed as well. And the fact that you've got Benjamin Goethe and Thomas Neubauer there also suggesting that they are getting ever closer to winning silver, if they haven't already won silver in the combined championship. Vincent Voss strides forward, and who wants the trophy? Asks Gonzalo Gobert. Well, that is a team that has contributed so much to this championship over the years with Audi. One chapter closes and another one will open for 2023. Champagne goes everywhere, and Vincent Voss takes cover under the trophy. That WRT comes out on top once again. It's not just down to the car, not just down to the drivers, it's down to the engineers and their ability to read a race, and boy, did they get it right today.
Well, that is a true team effort, and to take the gamble, roll the dice, and I mean, as Dries van Thor said, to trust the engineers to say, we know this race is going to come to you, we don't know quite which point. And there was cutting it fine, it was on that last lap, virtually halfway through the lap before Charles Weerts got the advantage, and well, they deserve the celebrations.
And let's also hear from our silver champions, Elise de Pauw, Pierre-Alexandre Jean. Let's hear from them next.
Pierre, Ulysse, you guys have driven outstandingly this year. It's been mega, and you're champions.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you to everybody, to the team, to Ulysse, my partners. Was a really positive season. Honestly, at the beginning of the season, we have signed for this kind of result. So very happy. P4 overall as a silver lineup is great, and now we can enjoy and go for the parties.
Absolutely, and Ulysse, you just need another bottle of champagne. You keep trying to flick it at people.
Yeah, absolutely. Super happy with the season. We're already champions since Misano, but we finished it pretty well here. We won yesterday at the overall. We got the pole. And today we had a difficult quali. We were still in play for the third place of the overall championship, but it was a really tricky condition. We tried the slicks, which were a bit tricky, but anyway, super happy with the season. The guys at AF Corse have been mega. We had a great car all season long, and a huge thanks to them, thanks to PA for a great job, and I'm super happy and looking forward to next year.
Félicitations. Thank you.
A great result, a great effort all season by Pierre-Alexandre Jean, by Ulysse de Pauw, who's made a name for himself in British GT as well, having come to the Ram Racing Mercedes squad late in the season with John Ferguson and going oh so quickly in that car. A very different sort of a GT car, but Ulysse de Pauw showing that he's not just connected to one brand. Well, what a race we have enjoyed. And Vincent Voss is still grinning from ear to ear. It's a bit wet, but he's grinning from ear to ear at the end of a fantastic race and a very, very good and competitive Sprint Cup season. Let's look back then and try to remind ourselves about everything that happened. It was Raffaele Marciello and Dries Van Thor on the front row of the grid. Raffaele Marciello led away as the car stormed down towards the first corner on a wet road, spray hanging in the air. And as they wriggled their way up through the first few corners, it was absolutely dramatic behind. But Marciello was able to get away from the Audi McLaren fight that was going on behind him. Van Thor slotted into third as around went Ferrari number 21 of Cedric Sprazzuoli. Marciello, despite a big slide, built the lead. Patrick Niederhauser was second and Dries Van Thor was third. As Dries got towards the end of his stint, though, he was starting to drop away a little bit from the Santalog Audi ahead of him. Valentino Rossi was one of the first to take over from Fred Verviche, but that car had a problem and sadly was the only retirement of the race. The battle raged on lower down as well as number 54 Porsche got in on the act, trying to work its way through the order, disposing of number 32 Audi, which after the pit stops was on slicks, but they weren't working. They took a long time to really take effect, and others that were on slicks were struggling. We had this spin for Jean-Baptiste Simonard as around he went, but that was rather due to contact. So Timur Boguslawski led, but he was being hunted down by Aurélien Panis, and it looked as though Panis was on target to do it. He got the gap down for 25 seconds, but then on the last lap, the slick tyres for Weert suddenly kicked in, and he was right back with them. Halfway around the last lap, he was second. 3 corners later, he was going to be the race leader. It was nose to tail as they came out of turn 8, and Timur Boguslawski, almost within sight of the flag, eventually had to cede the place. Round the outside came Charles Weert to take a 4th Sprint Cup win of the season. A most outstanding race, and delight was there to see in the WRT garage. That is the end of Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup for 2022. From Gemma Scott, John Watson and David Addison, it's goodbye from Valencia.